One of my favorite things about talking about sports, and it's not just the radio aspect and doing it for a living, the fact that you can have a conversation and then somebody could say something and then boom, left turn into a different discussion. And we have that courtesy of Dylan McKinnon today. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
This is Kincade and Salciunas.
We do recognize the issues that have hurt this team over the last couple of years. I'm enjoying this season. They're going to be a good ball club.
That kind of stuff bothers me. It annoys the crap out of me in the moment. It doesn't annoy me enjoying the game or enjoying the whole baseball season.
Kincade and Salciunas. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good Thursday morning, Philadelphia. I'm Andrew Salciunas with my man, John Kincade. Johnny, good morning.
And I hope you're ready for a big day today.
Yeah,
Looks like we got a good show ready to go.
Marathon day.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Got this show, going down to the ballpark to do some due diligence.
That'll be
then going
fun.
to my event, New Deck Tavern in University City for the first 2 hours of the Phillies game. Pick up Cooper afterward, and maybe I'll sleep later. Who knows? It's marathon day today.
Could be fun.
Look, the weather's going to be pretty nice.
It's going to be nice except for the wind.
And you know what? I'll deal with that. All right, so yesterday was fascinating. And this is the beauty of sports talk. You get what I'm saying, right? Like, we could be talking about something, and then somebody make a comment.
And then it
all
goes
of
a
sudden,
different direction.
Totally different direction.
That happens pretty much every single day, every single time around here.
And not just on the air, like off the air, behind the scenes. You go to a bar with your buddies and you're talking about the Sixers game, and then somebody brings up Nikola Jokic, and then all of a sudden you're talking about best centers of all time, right? Like, we kind of did that at the end of the show yesterday. It just happens. That's the beauty of sports. And so yesterday you gave me the numbers to back up the case that I should not be, quote, borderline devastated if Dallas Goedert is not on the Eagles next year. And I appreciate the effort that you made. Still feeling the same way, Johnny?
I can't. Here's what I don't get. I can't believe you would hear the numbers, and it doesn't move you at all, because that doesn't make sense.
Oh, I'm not always a numbers guy. Sometimes
I know,
I'm
but
an eye test guy.
But it doesn't,
like a true football guy would be.
But it's no, because it's the numbers are all there to show you that it does not make this huge impact when he's out.
Well,
and it's not a small sample size.
No, I know. 15 games, 15
it's
games.
a season. So out of the last 3 years, one of those seasons he didn't play. And the numbers tell you this team rocked and rolled without him. And I don't want him gone, by the way.
Course,
I do not want
I know
him
you
gone.
don't want him gone.
But
yeah.
But I do want to give Connor Thomas credit.
Thank you.
Because I did hear from yesterday from somebody that I think is very much in the know down in the NovaCare area. And they believe your theory, Connor. He asked for his team is not playing ball at all on a renegotiation of money. Not going to take a pay cut.
Yeah.
So he's not playing ball at all.
Here's the thing. He shouldn't, right? After the performances
he
he's
gets
put
to
in.
make his choice, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're fine.
That's exactly what happened with guys that left in free agency this year. I mean, if that happens with Dallas Goedert, so be it. But
we wish Dallas Goedert the best at that point, and don't begrudge him.
Yeah, that's all. Thanks for helping them win a Super Bowl.
Everybody take care of your own money. I think it's absolutely smart on the Eagles' part not to pay him.
Yeah, with the pay, and especially the dead cap hits, or what was the cap hit next year? It's $18 million. Not this year, the following year.
$18 million. So that's why you got to take that out.
So we talked about Goedert a little bit. And then our own Dylan McKinnon, who does a great job with our, digital content, helps out the best show ever, of course.
He drives the best show ever. You kidding me?
He comes in here like a bat out of hell.
Oh, he was.
I mean, he walks in these doors right when we're off the air, ready to go to war with John, which happens like once every couple of weeks. It's like payday. It's every other week. Every other week, I see a Dylan McKinnon, John Kincade heavyweight title match in the hallways.
Dylan with me is, sort of like shopping at a Tesla dealership right now. Little testy at times. Got to be careful.
So Dylan brings up the Dallas Goedert thing. He, like me, would not like to see Dallas Goedert go.
But I don't want to see him go
No, but
either.
I think he reaches my level of borderline devastated if Dallas Goedert is to go.
Right.
And I do make the point. Look, if Dallas Goedert's not on this team next year,
does it affect you think do you say to yourself, they're not going to the Super Bowl? They have no chance to go to the Super Bowl if Dallas Goedert
I'm not going to say that. I just wish that if this was the plan, and let's face it, the Eagles, and we'll talk about this later on the show, have been thinking down the road because of the young players they have. If this was your thought last year and you knew that this time would come, I wish they addressed tight end a little bit more last season in the draft. Now, look, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, nobody's complaining about those first 2 draft picks, and Jalix Hunt looks like he's becoming a player.
I'm not arguing with you at all on that.
I just wish they weren't going into this season with what will be a rookie tight end as like your focal point tight end, because Grant Calcaterra has limitations in his game. They brought the guy in from the Raiders who has limitations in his game. So we'll see.
I can't even spell him.
We'll see how it ends up working out. But the fascinating comment made by Dylan McKinnon was, well, Howie messed up the draft the last time the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
Howie messed up. Now, the thing is, he didn't. Now, the thing is, it wasn't the draft.
Everything.
He said, well, Howie messed up everything last time they went to the Super Bowl. He didn't say the draft.
Okay.
So, because I know Dylan knows his stuff. He didn't say the draft. He goes, well, Howie messed up everything. Why are you going to believe in him? He messed it up last time they went to the Super Bowl in 2023. And to me, I thought that comment just says to me, okay, we need to pump the brakes and let's look at the facts. No, he didn't. He did not. And if you believe Nick Sirianni, and he had a large say in who the coordinators were, I do not. Mm-hmm. I'm not calling Sirianni a liar, Coach Sirianni a liar. But I do not believe he was the driving force in hiring, going out there and getting 2 inexperienced coordinators.
Wait, I think Dylan meant Super Bowl 52, winning.
Oh, well, that's another one too. But I
think that's what he meant.
I could go. No, look, he screwed that up. But he's shown you. I almost look at Howie Roseman as if there's a wall between, like 2019, the minute that he got rid of Carson Wentz. He has been on a roll that arguably no general manager in the history of the NFL has been on. He has been on a roll that gives me complete confidence in Howie Roseman. And there was a time, I never called for his firing, but there was a time when I didn't have that. If Dylan came in here and said that in 2019, I would have said, Dylan McKinnon, I can't argue with you. But I believe there's like a wall that comes after that. The minute that he got out from under that Carson Wentz contract, he has been freaking Houdini since.
Yeah, and there's a couple of things. And that's why when I hear Dylan say that, I'm shocked. And I'm glad that you also took note of it. And our question to start the show at 610-632-0975 is, how do you not have faith in Howie and the Eagles' process at this point? Doesn't just have to be draft.
God, I hate
draft
that word.
Process, and I know. Draft process, the free agent period, trades, waiting for the second, third, fourth wave of free agents, waiting till training camp where guys get cut and the Eagles pick up depth guys. At this point, the process of the Philadelphia Eagles, how do you not have faith in it, considering what you just said? Following that dark time, and it was a dark time.
Oh, it was really dark.
And it wasn't just Wentz, right? Howie was the smartest man in the room. He would be the first to tell you, too. And that's a problem. When you're the smartest man in the room and your opinion is the only one that matters and you're overthinking things like Jalen Reagor, Davion Taylor, which is somebody that we don't talk about enough in this city. Like, that was a horrible draft pick, a guy that barely played football, but they thought, oh, we could make something work with his measurables, with his athleticism. The guy could barely play. He's not in the NFL anymore. There was a time where Howie Roseman was heading in a horrible direction. Jeffrey Lurie himself, he's somebody that deserved blame for the J.J. Arcega-Whiteside draft pick because he liked him coming out of Stanford.
Yeah, I don't believe that he made that pick.
Okay.
But I do believe he absolutely exerted influence on that. I've had people tell me, Jeffrey Lurie went in there and said, don't take Jefferson, take Arcega-Whiteside. And I've been told that
was DK Metcalf.
Well, I've been told that's complete crap.
Remember, they were worried about the neck injury, so instead they get J.J. Arcega-Whiteside.
Oh, boy.
But to your point, Johnny, in recent years, Howie Roseman has done everything for you to not have doubt.
I can't get over it.
And we're not asking blind faith, because I don't do that. But when you heard Dylan say, well, Howie messed it up the last time they won the Super Bowl, I was shocked that somebody still has that feeling.
And I can understand. I just need it explained a little more.
So coming up next, we'll go through the recent years of the draft for the Eagles. because they've been on a heater. And I will remind you of how this draft sets up perfectly for the Eagles. I don't think they can go wrong. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Tyrone Johnson, Ricky Vitalico, and Sylphonic.
Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Our question, how do you not have faith in Howie and the Eagles' entire process at this point? When we hear our own Dylan McKinnon yesterday after our conversation about Dallas Goedert, because he wants Dallas Goedert back probably as much as I do, but when he then follows up with, well, Howie messed up the last time the Eagles won the Super Bowl. You don't think he could do it again? I was shocked by that comment.
Well, the thing is, if he says, first of all, too, just as, because someone goes here, he goes, this Dylan sounds like a bag of laughs. I said, look, Dylan is a positive fan.
Yes.
I think Dylan tends to be a positive fan. So he wasn't being negative. He just doesn't want, he's taking the, I guess, the caution, I think, to a level that is no longer deserved.
Yeah, I don't
he's
think
he's
you're
being
right.
overly cautious. But I don't believe in any way, shape, or form he's a negative fan.
Yeah.
Because he tends to be a pretty positive fan.
Absolutely. He was rocking the beautiful Phillies maroon all day yesterday.
He's
Eagles
always
green.
He tends to be a positive fan, but in this one I'm a little surprised.
Dylan's very pro player too.
Explain.
Doesn't like torts. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't like the hard coaches.
Yeah.
Pay every player, which I get it. I would love to pay every
Sure,
player
it'd
as
be great
well.
you could play them all.
But you can't. And so maybe this Dallas Goedert situation where it's going to be over money, most likely. Maybe that's what it is.
Well, it is. I mean, and if but I would say, and I think Dylan's smart enough to know that if you think that saving $18 million against next year's cap isn't important, with all the signings that they have to do and everything like that, this has to be done.
Well, and in the next segment, Jeffrey Lurie spoke earlier in the week at the owners' meetings, and he talked about one of the major differences between the Eagles winning the Super Bowl this past February compared to Super Bowl 52 and the plan that followed. And we'll get into that coming up in the next segment.
Good.
And it goes to the Dallas Goedert discussions, the Chauncey Gardner-Johnson discussions, any discussion about a player that is not here anymore, and the differences in terms of thank you contracts. But the last couple of drafts, and this is, if we're just focusing on the draft, this is where that comment from Dylan is unfair, I would say, toward Howie Roseman.
Okay.
And I'm going to ignore the 2020 draft where you got your franchise quarterback, but you also drafted Jalen Reagor, Davion Taylor, Kayvon Wallace. It wasn't all that great.
Yeah, it was bad. By the way, I like the Kayvon Wallace pick, so I'm not going to do the 2020 hindsight.
Oh, see, I didn't like it. I thought people got excited too much because of the Clemson safety thing.
I watched him play, and I thought he had game.
That's fair.
I thought he had game. I had watched him in the ACC down south. And when the pick was made, I said, okay, that could be pretty good.
And it was a fourth-round pick.
I said that could be pretty good value there. I expected him to contribute. He never really contributed at all.
So then they go in the heater, starting in 2021. You make the trade up to get Devontae Smith. You get Landon Dickerson. And I was questioning that pick because of the injury past that he had. Didn't he have like 5 straight season-ending injuries?
I danced up
high school and college.
Yeah, he got them all out before he came to the NFL.
Yeah, exactly.
I liked that pick a lot just because of watching him and the 2 factories he came out of.
Yeah, well,
I was pretty happy with that.
Milton Williams, your third-round pick. I'm just giving you the first 3 rounds.
I knew nothing about Milton.
But think about that draft.
Oh my gosh!
Future maybe
It won us a Super Bowl.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
That draft won us a Super Bowl.
Devontae Smith could go down as the greatest forever Eagle wide receiver in the history of the franchise. A.J. Brown might go down as the best, but A.J. Brown was a trade acquisition. Like Devontae in terms of homegrown, you drafted him, and if he stays here his entire career, he might go down as the best receiver in Eagles franchise history. Landon Dickerson is an all-pro guard. Milton Williams just got paid the biggest contract for defensive tackles this offseason with the Patriots. 2022, Jordan Davis, your first-round pick, Cam Jurgens, Nakobe Dean. Jordan Davis, I understand that people still kind of feel a certain way that he's not a full-time player.
All right, here, I'll give you this, though. Again, I'll give you the Pro Football Focus. I agree with those people. Jordan Davis has not lived up to what I thought he'd be. And I also wanted...
We both wanted Kyle Hamilton.
I wanted Kyle Hamilton badly for that to be on the team. But Jordan Davis, at his position, as a run stuffer, is a top 5 player in the NFL. Period. There's no argument. The facts back it up. Again, if you just want numbers, he is a top 5 run stuffer. So to me, I can't say that that's a miss. I wanted a more complete player, though.
I got you.
I wanted a more complete
Kyle
player.
Hamilton. Yeah.
And that's what I didn't think they got.
Jurgens and Dean, great. The following year, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Tyler Steen.
Oh, my gosh.
And then last year, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Jalen Hunt. And if you want to go further, Will Shipley in the 4th round might be a big piece for you this year. I mean, and even Jeremiah Trotter Jr., who might have to play a little bit more this year, especially at the beginning of the season, because we're still waiting to find out what the deal is with Nakobe Dean. So, coming up next, we'll continue to talk about the upcoming draft and the Eagles' plan moving forward. Jeffrey Lurie spoke about the differences from winning Super Bowl 59 with Super Bowl 52 and how he feels like they're in a much better place. I think you'll agree they're in a much better place. And again, how this draft sets up perfectly for the Birds, in my opinion. Talk about that next as well. Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The Phils win another series. I'm Connor Thomas, and the Phillies won again yesterday, 5-1 over the Rockies. Zach Wheeler was dominant, going 7 innings, 10 strikeouts and only 1 earned. Edmundo Sosa is also tearing the cover off the ball to start the year. He went 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs yesterday. We'll see if the Phils can find a way to keep him in the lineup today as they go for the sweep. A 1:05 p.m. first pitch. Juan Walker takes them out for the first time this year, facing off against Antonio Senzatella for the Rockies. Sixers face the Bucks tonight at 7 p.m. You can hear that game live here on the Fanatic. Flyers are still off until Saturday. And the Tush Push criticism may be born out of jealousy, as Adam Schefter told us yesterday. He joined Kincade Salciunas, and he talked about the reasoning behind the look at banning the Tush Push.
I believe that there are people in the league that are jealous of the Eagles' success. I believe there are people that can't duplicate the Eagles' success. I believe the commissioner and others don't like the play, and I believe the play is going to go away.
Well, it's hard to be the champs. We'll keep you updated on the Tush Push news. Andrew DeCecco will join us for the entire 8 o'clock hour. This update's brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. That feeling of owning your first Mercedes-Benz is hard to believe, but it's real. From the leather stitching to the iconic design, every element of a Mercedes lives up to its reputation. See for yourself at your local dealer. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
97.5 The Fanatic and live casino.
Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic. Talking about the Eagles to start the show today. How do you not have faith in Howie and the entire Eagles process at this point? And look, sometimes I have to remind myself that I have faith in the entire process. The Dallas Goedert situation, because I know I will be upset the day he's no longer on the roster. But
You're going to be borderline devastated.
Borderline devastated. I might need you to keep me up that day, all right? Chauncey Gardner-Johnson trade. I hated that trade. And I'm going to still have that same opinion.
Yes.
I'm not going to change my opinion. Now, I know Jeff McClain had some reports yesterday that there was some stuff inside the locker room or maybe within the Eagles brass that they didn't like about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Is anybody surprised in hearing any of that?
By the way, Jeff's reporting great on that, but and I heard it's both. That it was both. That it was executives having issues.
Yeah.
Other players having issues.
And look, he's bounced around the league now. 4th team in 5 years. Like, it's not.
He's not a.
It's not a surprise when you hear it.
How about this? He is. The word that was given to me yesterday is that he is a good person, but he's exhausting.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Good person though. Like,
and we all know
people
that kind of person.
People don't hate him, but it exhausts the energy to get work done and to do all things and everything. There's a lot with it.
Right.
There's
exactly.
a lot with him.
And so I could still be upset with the trade, but the Eagles have shown me time and time again that they find ways to fix or rebuild or retool or continue to add to. And at this point, the Eagles have to think about the contracts down the road of the younger players. Whereas last time, and this is how we'll get to the Jeffrey Lurie clip. If you remember, after the Eagles won Super Bowl 52, there are way too many thank you contracts. I know Brandon Graham still played up until last season. I did not like the contract at the time. Now, look, proven wrong, and that's fair. I didn't like the Alshon Jeffrey extension either. Proven right.
I hated that one.
I did not like constantly bringing back Jason Peters, despite him being a Hall of Famer. Right. I did not need to see Jason Peters coming back. Then they did the guard experiment, and he refused to play guard. And then he went to tackle and asked for more money because he was back at tackle. It was a whole situation. There were players that they kept that I thought, all right, this is the time to move on. You're falling in love with a lot of the guys that won you your first Super Bowl. And I understand that that's probably hard to come to terms with, but they made, I believe, a lot of mistakes. So here was Jeffrey Lurie earlier in the week from the owners' meetings talking about how different the team is this time around after winning Super Bowl 59.
It's incredibly difficult to repeat, I think, in any sport. You don't see it very often. You know, I think that maybe we didn't plan as well for 1, 2, 3 years out as we are now. Maybe it's just more obvious now. We've got an exceptionally young roster and talent level that's at a very high level. Players that are about to really emerge on the scene that are not necessarily national names. We want to keep as many of those people as possible. Maybe at that stage we kept more in the short run and didn't quite maximize where we'd be 12, 24, 36 months out. So if anything, and I think Howie is just, really on top of that, and I do rely on him for roster construction and the ability to plan out what are we going to have to be doing next February, and it's just, from experience.
And, when it comes to Goedert, like, I will be upset for this season if he's not on the team. I'm not worried about 3 years from now. Like, and that's why I don't want to give him some lucrative 3-year extension. I would just like for the Eagles to try to find a way to rework the contract. But to what you guys were saying, maybe Goddard's camp is, hey, we're not going to take less money just to still be on the Eagles.
And by the way, again, we all agree. Everybody's on the same page. We all agree that he should go do what's best for him.
Right.
But we all would agree $18 million is absolutely important for next year's cap.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
We cannot have it. So they're at a standoff, and I hope that Dallas Goedert gets every freaking dollar he wants.
Yeah.
Hope he does.
That'd be great.
But to me, I'm very willing to let him go, especially if he's playing hardball. Now, the thing is, too, is now I'll give Bill credit here, one of our listeners. He goes, John, you say you support Dallas Goedert, and then you say he's playing hardball. That makes it sound like you don't support him getting every dollar he can get. Let me be clear. I support him getting every dollar he can get.
Yeah.
I do not begrudge Dallas Goedert getting all the money he wants. But if you play hardball, then you really don't want to be here. You want to be rich. And guess what? If you want to be rich, go for it.
Yeah.
You've earned it. You've earned it. You've done
Plus,
a great job here.
this will be his
And
last.
This is his last big
legitimate
contract.
So
So go for it. I have no problem with that. But he doesn't want to be here that badly. If it's not like he's being pushed out the door.
Right. So
Come on now.
I want to ask you both this.
All right.
And I know it's hard to try to forget what happened after the Eagles won Super Bowl 52 because it went bad. And it went bad pretty quickly.
It did go bad quickly. Well, wait a minute. They were 9-7, 9-7, 4-11-1.
Yeah.
So that was really bad.
Yeah. It was.
Now there was some things to that. There was injury to that.
A lot
like
to
that.
it. Do you feel better about where the Eagles are at now in this process post Super Bowl than the last time? And again, I know it's hard to forget that it did not go well, but I was not in favor of the contracts that were given out back in Super Bowl 52 after winning Super Bowl 52. I wanted to try to trade Nick Foles for the best return that you could possibly get.
Okay.
And they didn't. And I understand that he almost won them another playoff game if Alshon Jeffrey doesn't drop the pass against the Saints. But I was ready to try to keep on adding. What the Eagles are doing now in terms of steps down the road is what I wanted them to do last time.
I think they made a mistake not trading Nick Foles when they had the opportunities. Now, reportedly, they only had opportunities for, at best, a third-round pick.
Which I would have done.
I would have done it too. And everybody, but I think sentimentality hurt that last run.
Yeah.
It did. Well, no, there was no run. It was a lightning in a bottle one season.
Right.
And to me, that was a wasted opportunity.
And if you remember, 2 years later, when they have the opportunity to legitimately pick between Wentz and Foles, they pick with Wentz. They knew that. They knew that was the direction they were going to go in, so they should have moved on from Foles when he was at his highest value. They didn't do that. And that's a problem with a lot of teams is that they don't move on at the right time. Now, we might still be upset when the moves are made. I don't like the Chauncey Gardner-Johnson trade.
I don't either.
But maybe it was at the right time. That's something that I won't find out until this year plays out and the next year plays out.
And I don't want to have somebody around who, as it was described to me, is exhausting. That, like, maybe Vic Fangio's trying to teach and, everything takes longer.
Right, but do you deal with the exhausting nature if it works for you? Because let's face it, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, we saw the fall off the following year. Was it just because he wasn't on the team? Absolutely not. But we talk about that Niners game kind of being that moment where the team got punked by the Niners before the game. Like, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson would not have allowed that to have happened.
I would also tell you that as of Halloween into November, he was the worst player in the defense.
He did not have a good start to the season.
He was the worst player in the defense almost up to Thanksgiving. And remember the game in Washington getting ejected?
Yeah.
Later in the game. He had some bad moments after that, too.
I imagine that he is exhausting. And again, 4 teams in 5 years will tell you that.
And that was what was sort of ascended to me is that after that Washington game, which the fans were all in support. Good job, Chauncey. Good job.
Yeah.
That was not the reaction within his own
within his
organization.
own peers.
That you gotta grow up.
Connor,
you can't be doing that.
Do you like where the Eagles are at this time around compared to the last time? And again, hard to kind of forget what ended up happening.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I don't know how you couldn't. There's three major differences. One, your quarterback isn't a nutcase this time around. All due respect to Carson Wentz.
No. You don't have to do all due respect.
The locker room fell apart.
Yeah.
Partially because the guy who's supposed to be the leader of that locker room was not well liked by the players in it. Two, significantly younger. That's easily comparable to last time. And you're in a better spot when it comes to the age of the general players on this roster. Really every player on the roster. And the third one is your GM, who is pretty damn good at the time and made a mistake coming out of the first Super Bowl win, now has 7 more years of experience and is on an absolute heater. So those three things make this a completely different scenario than the last time the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl.
Was it mistake, Connor? You said mistake. He made a mistake coming out of the last one. Are you talking a broad brush general?
Yeah, I think the philosophy was incorrect.
Okay, good. Yeah,
Yes.
then I agree with that 100%.
And Howie Roseman is not a guy that we've seen not learn from his mistakes. Sometimes, like the draft, it took him a couple of years to figure it out, but eventually the guy has corrected the things that we've criticized him about. I imagine 7 years between where he was and where he is now is a lot of learning for Howie Roseman.
Right. And now that we're 3 weeks away from the NFL draft, and we'll have Andrew DeCecco in for the entire 8 o'clock
Looking forward
hour,
to that.
we could talk about how this draft, at least in my opinion, sets up perfectly for the Eagles. Because here's the deal. They're now just adding depth to this team. Because you have your core in place. You do have to find starters. But right now, you know who's going to get the contracts down the road. You know who already has contracts and aren't going anywhere. This draft, because it's depth heavy for this team, and oh, by the way, the areas of where there's the most talent, sets up perfectly for the Eagles. Interior defensive line.
Does.
It's the Eagles' MO. It's trenches. It's a good tight end draft class. They need a new tight end. This draft sets up perfectly for the Birds to continue their success moving forward, and maybe they can get the D word. Dynasty, people. All right, coming up next, we check our text line for the first time this morning. How do you not have faith in Howie at this point and the Eagles' entire process when it comes to sustaining success? It's Kincade and Salciunas on this Thursday morning, 97.5 The Fanatic.
The Philadelphia 76ers.
here on Kincade Salciunas 97.5 The Fanatic as I try to hold sneezes in as we come out of break.
Okay, we are entering into the heavy time of here comes your problems
yeah,
with
and I'm bad with the eyes. The eyes is what is my issue with the
Do
pollen.
you look worse than Nick Sirianni at the tables?
At night.
At night.
It's weird. It's at night when I just get smacked in the face.
Oh, that is weird. Your eyes get all red and blurry at night?
Because Nick Sirianni looks like that first thing in the
No
morning.
comment.
Interesting.
I mean, he's really.
Well, he wakes up, bakes up. all
I
right?
think that might be.
I just need help going to sleep.
That
that's
may
all.
be a toaster up. You may be doing that.
We're going to check our text line here momentarily. We got a lot of other stuff in store for you today. Andrew DeCecco, I mentioned it going into the break. So every Thursday from now until the draft, we're 3 weeks exactly from the first round of the NFL draft.
I'm excited.
He's going to be with us for an hour, and he's going to talk about his mocks. He's going to talk about some players the Eagles could be targeting. Obviously, Andrew DeCecco, part of the reason why we love him so much is he's just endless information with no notes in front of him. He'll tell you who he has in his mock draft, but he'll also tell you 10 other names that the Eagles could target with the first-round pick, or they could trade up for, or trade back from and get. And so there's a lot to talk about with Andrew DeCecco. To start the 7 o'clock hour today, we'll bring up the Phillies. They were in action yesterday against the Rockies with a win, so we'll talk about that game a little bit. And one of the worst 3 straight at-bats I've ever seen in my life. We'll get into later on. But I do want to check the text line. You can text the show at 610-632-0975. Here's what we're talking about today. At this point, how do you not have faith in Howie and the Eagles and their entire process of sustaining success? Because yesterday, at the end of the show, after the show came to an end, our own Dylan McKinnon, who was very upset about
He was on fire.
all the numbers you provided for the Eagles without Dallas Goedert, basically making him seem like a traffic cone.
Could we
John.
change that?
What?
All the facts. I didn't give numbers. I just gave facts. I just argued facts, not feelings. I argued facts, not feelings.
Oh.
So that's the way I like to do it.
Some guys use eye test.
No feelings.
Some guys
No
use eye
feelings.
test.
I just
and Dylan
it's
McKinnon's
facts.
a big eye test guy. We
Hey,
know that.
15 to get. The last 3 seasons, he's missed one of them, pretty much.
Yes.
And I just like to talk about the facts.
Well, Dylan then said, and we're paraphrasing a little bit, but I think the quote is pretty close. Well, Howie messed it up the last time they won.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what it was.
And he used it in that tone.
He did. He was very animated about
And
it.
we were like, wait, that's still a thought on your mind? And I'm curious, if one person has that thought, somebody else has that thought.
And I am not mocking someone who loves Dallas Goedert and who appreciates what Dallas Goedert's brought to this team. I'm not making it seem
you're
like.
mocking me a little bit.
No, I'm not. What I'm mocking you on is the fact is the numbers prove it. Prove it. They don't just insinuate it. They prove it that when he has been missing for a third of the time over the last 3 seasons, they have done better running the football. So the argument that they don't run the football well when Goedert's out is just fake news.
Well,
False.
I never said
It's
they don't run well without him.
Well, I did hear that yesterday. I was listening to Best Show Ever.
Okay.
And they were saying, well, they need him because he's such a good run blocker. Fake news. He may be a really good run blocker, but they've shown that they run the ball better when he's out. Now, as Connor points out, just to make it a fair conversation, that maybe they run the ball more when Goedert's out.
Yeah, it could be that you're looking at the compilation stats. They could have a higher percentage of running plays because they don't use the passing offense without one of their top 3 targets out there. I don't know.
And that is very fair of you to point that out.
But even if that's the case, it shows that they are still efficient at that part of the game without Dallas Goedert on the field. He's not easily replaceable.
Right. I don't think they need him. I just like good players.
No, but the thing is, we all do. But I don't like good players if I can save $18 million next year when I'm going to be signing Jalen Carter to maybe the largest non-quarterback contract in the history of the NFL. That's what we'll be talking about next year.
Right.
That's
how much money he's going to get.
That is what we're going to be talking about, that Jalen Carter is going to get the largest contract that a quarterback, other than a quarterback, in NFL history. That's what's coming. And if I have $18 more million to be able to do that, then that means I don't have to get rid of other guys.
Right.
I mean, to me, there is no reason that I say, got to die on the hill of Dallas Goedert if it's going to affect me being able to sign the Cooper DeJeans, the Reed Blankenships, those type of players down the line.
Now, our secondary question that we bring up is, do you feel better with where the Eagles are at today after winning Super Bowl 59 compared to where they were at this time after winning Super Bowl 52. And look, I was just kind of getting my shot on the air. I've told you, my first ever on-air shift was after the Eagles won the Super Bowl from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. It was a blast. And I remember being public enemy number one pretty quickly on the air when I was saying, I would trade Nick Foles like right now. And
I would have absolutely done it.
And there were a lot of players that I did not want to bring back. Now, what's funny is there are people in this city that whatever the Eagles do, they will say they made the right decision.
Yes.
So when they brought back Brandon Graham, when they brought back Alshon Jeffrey and Jason Peters, a lot of people were like, this is great. Good. Keep it up. Let's keep the same team together. Let's try to win another one. This time around, when the Eagles move on from Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and Josh Sweat's gone and Milt Williams is gone, not that you were going to pay them, the response from a lot of Eagles fans is, they didn't lose anybody.
Yeah.
They didn't lose anybody important.
Come on, yeah.
And it's funny, because the Eagles told you they didn't need them, there's people that are going to ride with the Eagles no matter what they say. There are people that are sheep to the Philadelphia
Eagles.
Because
they don't want to hear that potentially it could be a mistake.
Right. Now, they made mistakes last time around. So do you feel better about the Eagles this time around after winning the Super Bowl, trying to sustain success compared to the last time? What do we have on the text line this morning, Connor?
All right. Well, it doesn't sound like everybody likes Dallas Goedert as much as you do. Bob from Dub C says, Goedert is already rich. He wants to be rich.
Correct.
And then he finishes off the text by saying, bye and good luck.
Yeah, I mean, we wish him the best. But if Dallas Goedert wanted to be here, he'd be here.
Yeah.
If Dallas Goedert did not want to break the bank, he would be here. He thinks he can break the bank. And by the way, God bless him. Again,
go for it.
God bless him if he does. But don't make this like the Eagles are in any way disrespecting Dallas Goedert or they're saying, look, we can't afford Dallas Goedert.
Now, I was thinking about this a lot yesterday, and I'm curious. Maybe Andrew DeCecco can give us a good answer. I still wonder what the market is for Dallas Goedert. Like, who is looking for a 30-year-old tight end that will pay him the money that he wants?
After he's missed a third of the time the last 3 seasons. Honestly, if there are people dying on this hill, and to me, it's a silly hill to die on.
And I just think, like, is there still the chance that if there's nothing else out there, does he rework the deal and come back? I'm trying to think of the team that's clamoring for a 30-year-old higher price tight end, especially in today's NFL where tight ends are coming out of the draft and making impacts right away.
And again, you are not degrading his talents.
No, absolutely not. All right, coming up next, we'll reset today's topics, and also to start the 7 o'clock hour, Phillies with another win, another series win, beating the Rockies yesterday. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Sports update.
Wheeler still dealing. I'm Connor Thomas, and the Phils won again yesterday, 5-1 over the Rockies. Zach Wheeler, a dominant start from him. You've heard that about 13 times in a row. 6 innings, less than 2 earned. He's done that 13 times in a row. That's a franchise record. He went 7 innings with 10 strikeouts yesterday, 1 earned run. Edmundo Sosa, he's tearing the cover off the ball to start the year. 3 for 4 yesterday, 2 RBIs. So we'll see if the Phils can find a way to get him in the lineup again today. They'll go for the sweep at 1:05 p.m. Taijuan Walker takes the mound against Antonio Senzatella. The Sixers face the Bucks tonight at 7 p.m. You can hear that game live here on The Fanatic. Flyers are off until Saturday, and the Tush Push conversation has been tabled until May. But Adam Schefter of ESPN joined us yesterday and talked about the reasoning behind people wanting to ban the Tush Push so bad.
I believe that there are people in the league that are jealous of the Eagles' success. I believe there are people that can't duplicate the Eagles' success. I believe the commissioner and others don't like the play, and I believe the play is going to go away.
Listen, man, it's hard to be the champs. We will talk to Andrew DeCecco about that and the upcoming NFL draft for the entire 8 o'clock hour. This update is brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app today. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
97.5 The Fanatic. If you guys have missed it, the cash contest coming back on Monday. 8 o'clock, and that's it with us.
$1,000.
$1,000 5 times a day.
Yeah, we only get to give away 1,000.
But just once with us.
Mikey Miss gets to give away 2,000
Yeah,
potentially.
best show ever.
2,000. It's all right. Redheaded stepchilds, we're all right.
It happens. It's
By the way, I
Fanatic signing
apologize if
bonus.
any of you out there are redheaded stepchilds for using that insensitive.
Yeah, it's
reference.
very insensitive.
I had a person once say to me that they were a redheaded stepchild. Now, it was comical. He said, but I am a redheaded stepchild. He goes, and I hate that people always use that.
Well, dye your hair. What can
I don't
say?
know what to do. He looked like Conan O'Brien, too, and he was like 6'5", too. Yeah.
Fanatic signing
$1,000?
bonus.
Yeah, I'll
Back
take
on
it.
Monday.
$1,000.
Presented to us by our friends at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia. Contest rules at 975thefanatic.com. You'll have 25 minutes to enter the keyword either on the website, the app, or the text code.
You did a good job with that. My kids maybe did it a little better last night.
Well, of course.
Nobody's
saying I'm the best.
They were doing that last night. They had to do live reads. They had to do commercial reads. They had to do some of your stuff. And yes, I apologize to Ness, one of my great students, Ernest Ness, who did the Hugh Johnson's meat market.
Well, that's good work.
And he fell for it. And I told them, read the copy before you do something. Be sure you read it. And it was the hit of the class last night.
I'm Ron Burgundy, baby.
That was the best. They all
I'm
loved
Ron
it.
Burgundy.
So he was just like you. He goes, if I end up like Salciunas, I'll be happy. How about that?
That's good.
Wow,
That's
words
good.
you never thought
That's
you'd hear.
good.
Huh?
Yeah,
That's
man,
good. That's a young
amazing.
man saying he wants to be like you.
No, what he's really saying is I want his job.
That could- no, it might be.
I'll kick into the curb and
Might
I'll take
be.
his job.
Might be.
All right, so we'll get into the Phillies in a little bit, but again, here's what we're talking about today. The Philadelphia Eagles and their process of retaining players and retooling and rebuilding and always trying to stay on top in the NFL. How do you at this point not have faith in them? Now, it also stems into the question of what happened last time. And the reason why we have this question is because our own Dylan McKinnon straight up said yesterday they did mess up the last time they won the Super Bowl. But I believe this
Very
is
animated, he said that.
He was. And look, he wasn't wrong. But to have that feeling right now, I think is wrong. To have that feeling right now, I think is unfair to what Howie Roseman has done, to what Jeffrey Lurie has done as one of, if not the best owners in the NFL, and what they continue to do to make sure the Eagles are one of the better teams in the NFL. Howie Roseman, I still remember, I read you the quote earlier in the year. I think it was 2 seasons ago, or it was after the 2023 season. He said, there's no rebuilding in Philadelphia when it comes to the Eagles, at least. Obviously, we've seen it with the Sixers. We're seeing it with the Flyers. We've seen it with the Phillies. But when it comes to the Eagles, this town can't handle a rebuild. And so he has to find a way where he's not overly aggressive, like paying for Myles Garrett, trading for Max Crosby, you name it, but still finding ways to be one of the more talented teams. And they have that right now. And the way this team is shaped up, and with the way this draft is upcoming, and with the way Howie Roseman has a plan for not just this upcoming season, but 2-3 years down the road, as you heard Jeffrey Lurie say in the clip we played earlier, I have full confidence that they have a plan that will work.
Do you think the statement, though, and the premise is true? That the Eagles fan base could not take a rebuild? Because I say maybe people your age, I think the Eagles fan base is the most likely fan base to be able to handle a rebuild.
See, that's interesting.
The most likely of the four, absolutely. Look, Flyer fans don't understand a rebuild.
Right.
Like a large majority of them that talk don't understand what a rebuild is. They're already demanding, well, this better be the year. I mean, that thing had to be torn down to the studs.
I know.
Sixers fans don't understand it either because they got tricked into believing you have to lose on purpose for like 5 years, and then that's the only way you can win. So they don't understand it. Phillies fans, look, the Phillies, we know, when the Phillies aren't good, that place is half empty.
It's dead, yeah.
The Eagles fans, packed every year. It's been packed every year for almost 40 years.
Yeah, if we're going by like attendance, the
It's
Eagles
like
will
40.
be fine. But
Eagles will always be.
let me tell you this though, Johnny. If the Eagles went through a 7 or 8 year rebuild, there would not be people that came out the other side that made their whole personality defending that rebuild.
Well, the thing
that
is,
lived and died on the hill of that rebuild. Like
the only thing is, though, Connor, is that the idea of if in the NFL, a 7 or 8 year rebuild is very
it doesn't
like
happen.
that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
you can
it's
rebuild.
quick turnaround.
You can rebuild in. You can rebuild in 2 years.
If you're a good organization.
Listen,
3 years.
man, the Jets have been in a 20-year rebuild.
If you're a good organization, and some
the Browns
organizations
have been
are
in
just
a
bad,
100-year rebuild.
and they're a bad organization.
Bad organization,
and
we are.
Signing Myles Garrett to this lucrative deal, I know they don't want to lose their best player. It may have been a bad move for them. They could have gotten a bunch of draft picks, and instead they didn't even want to listen to trade offers, and they're still dealing with the Deshaun Watson stuff. So if I look at it, Johnny, as you're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN, WPN, HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group Station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities, it very well could be a generational thing. Now, look, I'm pro-rebuild if my team needs it. I don't need to kick cans down the road or pretend like my team's better than what they actually are. I'm a very easy person to please when it comes to, as long as you have a plan. Right, I need a plan, and I saw Chuck Fletcher not necessarily have the best plan.
We had a terrible plan.
Right, I didn't agree with it. I hated the Phillies' plan with Matt Klentak. Not a fan of it. But when you watch, if you follow Connor and I's lifetime, so I always like to use the Sixers run as kind of that first year where like sports was like a daily thing in my house. It's the first time I really truly experienced winning. So let's just start with the turn of the century.
Okay.
All right. So we're in 2000. The Eagles win 11 games, 11 games, 12 games, 12 games, 13 games.
Exactly.
Then they only win 6, but McNabb was hurt. So we understand that. Then they win 10 games. Then they win 8. And then they win 9, and they're back in the conference. They're in the NFC Championship game that year.
That was the Arizona year?
Yep. Then
Game
it's
in Arizona.
11 wins, 10 wins. So the majority of my lifetime.
You've been a spoiled brat.
I had more double-digit win seasons than single-digit win seasons in the first, 10 years of my true sports fandom life.
Yes, you were spoiled brats. Eagles fans that are 30, well, no, I'm going to say 30 and below,
Yeah.
are spoiled brats. I mean, you've had nothing but you've eaten at you're at Ruth's Chris every night.
Damn right, man.
You're
Beautiful.
eating the steak, and you might even get the lobster some years.
Right.
You might get a dessert afterwards.
Not a dessert guy,
whereas
but-
whereas I was at freaking Ponderosa as an Eagles fan.
Not a bad spot.
No, it's not bad for an occasional meal, but you're not going, man, I can't wait the next week. I want to go 2 or 3 times a week and eat there.
Yeah, but I don't think it's that Eagles fans would be more comfortable with a rebuild. I think that Eagles fans are the most confident of the fan bases in the city. Not that there's not crossover, but, the fans of that team are more confident that they won't have to go through it. That's what it is.
Well,
I think
they've
the
shown
Eagles
you
are
that they
rebuild
haven't.
proof.
If you look at the down years, again, in our lifetime, and those down years, 05, injury to the quarterback, right? The dream team was a mess, right? But then they go right back and they win 10 games the next year with Chip Kelly. The final year, Chip Kelly, they win only 7 games, but they move on from him. And then the next year when they only win 7 games, understood it's rookie head coach, rookie quarterback. It's the Peterson and Wentz. And then the 4-11-1 is probably the worst season of my lifetime, worse than the dream team.
Are you talking because of the fact that the names that were on that team and the coach and everything?
And you knew that it was done. You knew that it was over. The dream team, you're going, all right, this sucks. But when 2020 happened, you realized that the core that won the Super Bowl was done.
Okay.
That's that squad, the head coach, the starting quarterback. Not that he won the Super Bowl. He had a big part of winning the Super Bowl when they win 13 games that year. But after that, since then, it's been nothing but up. 9, 14, 11, and 14.
It's been fantastic.
Even the collapse, they won 11 games.
Life is great. Life is great. It really is. And I think fans just believe it. They just believe in this team, and it's understandable why.
Yeah. Well, but there's still
They
the
believe it.
concern, according
Sure.
to Dylan McKinnon. All right, so Phillies yesterday. They beat the Rockies 5-1. They're 4-1 to start the season.
That's a nice start.
And they win another series, so they've won the first 2 series to start the 2025 campaign. So a nice win for the Phillies yesterday. Zach Wheeler, by the way, just another ho-hum day. 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned, 10 strikeouts, 0 walks. And one of the days this season, if he continues to pitch at this clip, which we kind of fully expect it to, we need to have the Zach Wheeler, where does this guy end up conversation in Phillies lore. You and I did a post-show headlines on Monday or Tuesday, and we talked about Kyle Schwarber.
Sure.
And if they sign him to an extension, and he continues to hit, let's say, another 40 home run season this year, 40 home run season next year, and then he's still mid-30s the next couple of years.
I told you, I believe, all-time Philly great. Like, he's up there. He will be talked about with Schmidt. He will be talked about with Carlton. He will be talked about with Ryan Howard and Jimmy Rollins. And I'm talking about just 3 more years of Schwarber.
Right.
What we're getting this year, what we've already gotten, and we get 2 more of them?
Yeah.
I guarantee.
And because he does kind of one thing, obviously he does a lot of stuff. He gets on base and he's a leader and all that kind of stuff. But, like, the home runs, like, that's not going away anytime soon.
No.
Like, I don't think the Schwarber, and he might not hit 50 3 years from now, but if he's still hitting 30 home runs, that's still a big part. That's still a big part of your lineup. But Zach Wheeler, I don't think he's falling off anytime soon.
I don't either.
He hasn't shown signs of age, fatigue, like dead arm. Like, I remember when we watched Roy Halladay, you knew it was like.
So you knew it was finished.
It was done. Zach Wheeler has shown no signs of that.
I got to tell you, I love Zach Wheeler and the idea of Zach Wheeler and his whole approach. And I remember at the time, he's an Atlanta guy.
Yeah.
And I'm down there, and a lot of buzz was he was going to come home and pitch for the Braves. The Braves didn't sign him, and I know this for fact, because of he would get those blisters.
Yeah.
He would get the blisters from the sweating, and they thought it was like too much sweat, too much whatever down there.
Especially in the Georgia area,
in the Georgia
Atlanta,
heat.
yeah.
So they didn't sign him.
Interesting.
They're kicking ass right now. They're saying, "Are you kidding
we'll
me?"
talk about the Braves and headlines a little bit.
Yeah, what kind of mistake did we make there?
We're going to be making daily Braves check-ins at this point.
Oh, I think it'll be a little fun, won't it?
By the way, look at this. The Phillies scored 5 runs and won a baseball game where Kyle Schwarber wasn't the leadoff hitter. Trey Turner, nice day. 3 for 5 with a ribby. We didn't talk about it yesterday on the air. We talked about it on post-show headlines. Trey Turner's at bat in game 1 of the series, down 0-2 and working the walk. Great at bat.
No, that was a huge moment in a huge game.
And he straight
Not
up said it. He straight up said it after the game. He said, "Yeah, I was too amped up when that's why he swung at bad pitches when he first because the crowd got him fired up when he was announced as the pinch hitter."
Sure.
And last but not least, we can't not mention Edmundo, man. 3 more base hits, 3 more knocks yesterday.
What's he hitting, 600?
He is hitting 600.
That's crazy.
9 hits, 5 ribbies. That guy is a great bench piece to have on your team. And look,
maybe more than that. He's got to play today. He has to be in the
I'm just saying he's not. I'm not saying
you're not saying Stott's on the bench, right?
No, I'm saying Bohm's on the bench today.
No,
I'm playing him at third base.
Yeah, you're finding a way to keep him in the lineup. Yes, I agree. What I'm saying is like he's not your 130 game starter at any position.
Right.
But the fact that you can turn to him on a given day and he's going to provide you with quality at bats and a good glove in the field.
He's fantastic.
He's a great piece.
What's your boy Rojas hitting right now?
Nice day yesterday for Johan.
Is he hitting 667 on the year? Or did I read that wrong?
You know what? Pause. Because I have a Johan Rojas question.
Oh.
Okay.
Because John Kincade said something before the show that made me go, that's topic worthy. I didn't even write it down on purpose. Speaking of coming up next, not only will I have this Rojas question, today's the first day we get to watch Taijuan Walker in 2025. Woo! I have a question off of that as well.
Thanks, Ric Flair.
It is Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. We want to hear from you, so text us at 610-632-0975. the
favorite player.
is the way you turned
we love Rojas,
Yes.
and I'm a big supporter of Rojas.
Look, my biggest thing last year was I didn't want him to start
Yeah, I mean, it's
with
okay.
the ball club because he would eventually get set down, which is exactly what happened.
I would tell you that you are amongst a group of people at this station that I believe are a little bad in your critique of Rojas.
What do you mean by bad?
Like you keep moving the chains. You keep moving the bar. Because last year, if I had said to you, and I don't know, and I didn't ask you the question, we weren't working together right at the beginning. We were right at the beginning talking about it. If I told you Rojas hits 240 and gives you a superior defense to the center fielder you got, is that good enough?
Yeah, I would have.
I believe you would have said, and he did it.
Yeah,
He did it.
My thing last year, we could go back and find the videos. I did not want him to start the season on the team because I thought it would not go well to start, and it didn't. Remember, he did get sent down.
He did get sent down for 3 days due to an injury.
And he came.
And then it was due to an injury.
It was not due to
It was
injury.
not an injury.
No, that's why he came back.
Oh.
Due to injury, he was only down for 3 days.
Right, and then he came back. Right,
came
but he
back
was
and
sent down because of his poor play.
That is correct.
And so
He started
far,
out poorly. But then again, we see poor crap play for 70 games out of the center fielder who he couldn't supplant.
which
And
is
everybody
why-
is patience.
Well, now don't
gotta have patience.
Don't loop me into the patience.
Yeah,
with
we got
Marsh.
Brandon Marsh. Come on,
Don't loop me into that. You know that.
he throws seeds on people and then cups of water. He's part of the daycare.
I need people to know that I am not of that crew.
They had zero patience for Rojas, and they have had the utmost patience for guys like Brandon Marsh.
As one they traded a top prospect
Exactly,
for.
and that's what it is.
So let me ask you this question. I didn't even put it on the show sheet.
You crafty
But
with this.
thank you very much
This is very
for doing this.
crafty of you to do this.
So first and foremost, Marsh was out of the lineup yesterday, not for rest. Maybe they wanted to give him a day off, 5 games into the season, following a day off. Kyle Freeland was on the mound. So it took them 5 games to go against their word of Marsh is going to be our everyday starting center fielder, regardless of who's on the mound. We have now seen him be pinch hit for when a left-hander is on the mound. So the team is already telling you once again how they truly feel about Brandon Marsh. Now, you said something before the show.
Okay.
You said that Rojas is the better fielder than Brandon Marsh. I agree with
He
you.
clearly is.
Johan Rojas can do more on the base paths than what Brandon Marsh can do.
Clearly can. It's not even close.
Big stolen base yesterday. Forget the bunting stuff for a second. When it comes to Rojas v. Marsh, if you were to say right now you have to pick somebody to play every single day, why wouldn't you pick Rojas? And the only reason why somebody would say Marsh is the fact that he could be a higher ceiling hitter, which I have not seen yet.
I absolutely would tell you that there's no explanation that I would take and legitimately say, yeah, you're right. That makes a lot of sense.
Now, I think there's better players than both of them out there. And who knows?
Well, that's different.
Come
That's a
trade
different-
deadline time, we'll see.
Different argument.
But in all seriousness, if you were to ask me, Rojas v. Marsh, who should get the shot to be the everyday starting center fielder, I would still be disappointed in those two being my only options. But why wouldn't it be Rojas when he does other things better than Brandon Marsh? Marsh, it's more the potential of hitting.
Because Marsh's offensive ceiling is exactly what you said. It's significantly higher than Johan Rojas at this moment right now. Like, Rojas is hitting 667 to start the year. Minimal sample size. It's nice to see him. What are his hits? Ground balls up the middle, bunts for base hits. I mean, that's nice. And you do need that at points in games. It's a good thing the Phillies haven't had. But if Rojas hits more than 4 home runs this year, I'll pass out.
Right, and but here's the deal. It goes back to the Bohm thing, right? Like, Bohm doesn't hit home runs,
Right.
and he's a third baseman. Like, why does it have to be home runs?
Because Bohm is a near 100 RBI guy.
Right,
Like,
but Marsh isn't.
I understand.
I don't think Marsh. Yes, the ceiling is higher offensively than Johan Rojas. I'm not going to argue that. But I haven't seen enough for me to go, yeah, this is why he should be the everyday starting center fielder.
I'm going to argue it. I'm going to argue that point. What? First of all, do you believe that Johan Rojas if given the same amount of opportunities at the major league level that Brandon Marsh has gotten, you don't think he'd be a better player?
I don't think he'd be a better hitter.
I don't think better hitter. No.
Oh, I do. I do think he would improve.
What
I don't
makes you
think he'd
say
be.
that?
No. Do I think he'd be a home run hitter? Nah. But I think he'd be a better hitter because in baseball, most guys do improve on things when they're given a full opportunity to show what they can do. Sometimes the ceiling isn't that high. I'm tired. I am so tired of hearing about the ceiling of Brandon Marsh.
I agree.
We
He's
should stop
he's 27 years
Let's stop
old.
arguing about a 27-year-old. We're not arguing. But let's stop arguing about a 27-year-old and his ceiling. If a 27-year-old hasn't reached their ceiling, this is their prime. He's in his prime. He's 27. He's not a kid. He's shown you what he is. And I'm not anti-Brandon Marsh being a part of this team.
No.
But I am anti the idea that, well, the ceiling for Brandon Marsh is so high. Brandon Marsh has already hit the ceiling. It's a drop ceiling, or it's one of those cheap popcorn ceilings that you get in a bad apartment.
See, I
That's
think
the ceiling. He's not going to he's not going to be a different player at 30.
Hang on. You're putting too much into the age, saying 27 is a finished product. There are plenty of players in Major League Baseball that change who they are as baseball players, 28, 29, 30, 31. Like, it's not typical, but the book is not written on either
Who
of
are
these
some
guys.
of the, Connor, if I could hear some of those guys, you may be able to totally convince me, and I'd go, you know what? I see the point. By 27 years old, players who are really good players in Major League Baseball have usually been really good players in Major League Baseball for 2, 3, sometimes
like
4 years.
all-star guys.
Well, not only
but here's
all-star
the deal.
guys.
Like Marsh, nobody's saying that Marsh isn't a starting player, but if you have
Right.
a better option,
And I'm telling you right now, I would absolutely say, I would have given him half the season. Johan Rojas, you get half the year. Show me what you can do.
So that's another question. Are you back to platooning?
I am. I never would have not been platooning. So that's just me.
Interesting.
On that regard.
All right. Also, Walker's back on the mound today. I have a quick Taiwan Walker question coming up next, but more Eagles on the other side. Because we played a clip from Jeffrey Lurie earlier today about the Eagles' plan. This time winning the Super Bowl compared to last time. I'll also tell you how they changed for the better, because Lurie said something yesterday, and I think he truly believes what he's saying, but it's something completely different than what was reported years ago. Everybody's learning from mistakes, and I appreciate that. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Sosa swinging a hot bat. I'm Connor Thomas, and the Phillies won again yesterday 5-1 over the Rockies. Zach Wheeler was awesome, but Edmundo Sosa might have been more awesome. He's tearing the cover off the ball to start the year. Went 3 for 4 yesterday with 2 RBIs. He's hitting 600 in a small sample size, so we'll see if the Phils can find a way to keep him in the lineup today. Unfortunately, Zach Wheeler only throws once every 5 games, but those games are special. Yesterday, 7 innings, 10 Ks, only 1 earned. The Phils will go for the sweep at 1:05 p.m. today. Taiwan Walker takes them out against Antonio Senzatella. The Sixers face the Bucks tonight at 7 p.m. You can hear that game live here on The Fanatic. Flyers are off until Saturday, and the Tush Push discussion is off until May. They tabled it before a vote, the NFL owners did. Adam Schefter joined us yesterday, talked about the reasoning behind why the Tush Push is so hotly debated.
I believe that there are people in the league that are jealous of the Eagles' success. I believe there are people that can't duplicate the Eagles' success. I believe the commissioner and others don't like the play, and I believe the play is going to go away.
We'll talk to Andrew DeCecco about that coming up for the entire 8 o'clock hour. Also, some draft talk with DeCecco. This update's brought to you by True Green. Get a golf course quality lawn for less than you think. Sign up at TrueGreen.com. That's TrueGreen.com. True Green, the official lawn care treatment provider of the PGA Tour. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
probably sitting in the parking lot because he parks like way away from everybody else.
Yeah.
I think he's CIA.
Probably
or something.
drinking his green Gatorade and his C4, and he's ready to go. And I love it, man. So he'll be joining us for the 8 o'clock hour today, as we are 3 weeks away from the NFL draft. And I have another Eagles-related point to make here in a second. But before we do that, I do have a quick question about today's upcoming Phillies game. And I know I asked this earlier in the week when Amy Fadul was here, but today is the day where Taijuan Walker gets to start. So do you just ignore today? Now, here's the deal. It's bad that I'm even asking this question. The fact that I have to ask this question, or I don't have to, but the fact that I feel like asking this question is bad within itself. But do you, John, just ignore today? Because here's the deal. Yesterday, when they had the 3 horrible at-bats with the bases loaded, starting with Bryce Harper.
That's terrible.
And that abysmal strikeout, Bohm going down, then Schwarber going down. I can't believe they didn't score a run with the bases loaded.
And
nobody out.
That so rarely happens with those guys.
Yeah.
That literally rolled right. I was driving home from school.
Yeah.
Listening, and that rolls off my back. I go, that doesn't happen with them, so.
It was perfect because everyone lost their minds like, this is the problem with these Phillies. How
I
can
know.
it happen?
I'm like, you
it
kidding
was
me?
their only 3 strikeouts in the game.
And Schwarber,
Right.
and if Schwarber and Harper, if people are getting on them about not delivering,
No, you can't.
then I literally, my listening
No, I
ears
can
are
complain about the inning. It was a horrible inning.
No,
you
And
can
mad
say
at
it was
that.
a bad at bat, right?
Harper's at bat was one of the worst at bats I've ever seen him have in a Phillies uniform. But that's besides the point. They're going to go into this game, I'm telling you right now, with a horrible attitude. Whoever's in the starting lineup is going to see Taijuan Walker jump up on the mound, have nightmares of last year, because if you remember, when Walker pitched last season, he would give up 6-7 earned runs, and some days the offense was non-existent.
because they're let down, right?
It's the first inning.
They know what's coming.
Yeah.
And so you remember, do you remember when why am I drawing a blank? Thor was here.
Noah Syndergaard.
Noah Syndergaard.
Jinx.
And they got
Noah Coke.
they went into every game saying, Noah Syndergaard, get us one time through the lineup
Get
or
us
2.
3 innings.
Here's the problem. You're heading into the Dodgers series. I just want him to eat it today. I do not want to see the bullpen get burned up.
No, you want to see him get like at least 6 innings.
I want to see him, and if he has to take a beating today, he's got to take a beating because you can't burn out your bullpen going into a series against the best team baseball has potentially seen in a long time.
And oh, by the way, when I asked you ignore today, I'm also asking offensively. Because here's the deal.
Well, you can't do that. They should show up.
Dude, there's going to be some guys that are either going to try to hit 5-run solo shots because Walker, there's that mindset. Or if it's the second inning and you're already down 3-0 and Walker's throwing 86 miles an hour and the Rockies of all teams are tattooing him, we've all been there in sports where you're kind of like, yeah, all right, let's get this one over with.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just ignore today because the offense should still be very productive against the Rockies. I mean, Antonio Senzatella, no. Like, that's not going to be a guy that shuts down the Philadelphia Phillies offense today. They're swinging hot bats right now. The Rockies can't score off anybody. So I think you actually have a fine day. And the other thing you got to think about, if the Phillies get to a point this year where they become willing to eat Taijuan Walker's salary, once Rangers fine, Painter starts to be ready to come up, he's still a guy that you could look to trade to a bad organization and maybe get like a player to be named later, but just get out from under it.
I think it's cash considerations,
Yeah.
man, when it comes to Walker.
Even that, though, like, here's the thing. If he goes out and he shows velocity and he gives you 1 or 2 good starts, that might be all you need.
He didn't show velocity in Clearwater.
I
It was
mean,
80 degrees and sunny. He wasn't showing velocity.
He was throwing 94.
Here's the only thing.
Yeah, and then what happened?
Connor, give me this one. Is there anybody today that you think Rob Thompson is looking at it as, if he gets 3 or 4 innings today, 1 earned run out of Taijuan Walker, then I say you get him out.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate that. And
then who could piggyback?
Well, Joe Ross.
Yeah.
And Joe Ross could give you 3 today?
I would have already had Joe Ross the talk with him earlier in the week and say,
Be
listen,
ready.
we
Okay.
got Walker throwing. I'm expecting 2, maybe 3 out of you
All
today.
right, well then that would be, I'm okay with that plan. I just want to see Captain Hook have a quick trigger finger today if Taijuan Walker has an outing that in any way he walks off that mound and the fans say, great. You go 1 earned run in 4 innings.
I'll take it.
He gets 13 outs today. If I said to you right now, 12 and a half outs for Taijuan Walker today.
I'll take the over.
I will take the over, but I'm not going to say
they're good outs.
They're good outs.
Oh, okay.
Because to your point, he might need to eat it. So he could go over and still give up 6 earned runs.
But do you believe Rob Thompson is going to manage? Because I do one of my things with Rob Thompson, and by the way, he is a great manager for this kind of team, and he creates a great atmosphere. I don't like him in a game of Connect 4 as far as a strategist. I could see him today using big arms going into the Dodgers series because he wants to win this game against the Rockies because it's a winnable game.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Because he let Nola kind of wear it in that 1 inning. Now it was the 4th inning, so it was early. But there was not even a thought.
My error, he did. And that was a little uncharacteristic.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he let that go because you already won the series against Washington. You were hanging out. You're like, we're good. We'll get back home and everything. I think he will let Taijuan wear it if he has to. I don't think you see guys like Jose Alvarado or Ryan Kerkering today.
I'd love to see Kerkering and Alvarado bench today.
Yeah, you want to see them ready to go for the Dodgers.
This is a Tanner Banks, Joe Ross, Carlos Hernandez.
Damn
day.
right.
Okay,
man,
now Curtis says, look at the weather forecast this weekend. Your pitchers may be getting a lot of rest. So maybe he thinks that way too. We'll see what happens.
They're going to try to play the game.
Yeah, or you get a starter banged and you have to go spot start from a bullpen arm and then you're screwed. So you still have to manage it carefully.
That's true. All right, another Eagles-related discussion. So our main topic today to start the show is how do you not have faith in Howie and the Eagles' entire process at this point to try to sustain, victories? And one of our side topics off of that is, do you feel better this time around compared to the last time the Eagles won the Super Bowl and tried to begin a dynasty, which clearly was not happening with the last team, and it quickly fell off. So we played a clip earlier today. Jeffrey Lurie talked about just that they have the knowledge from the last time and the mistakes that they made and how they feel better about where they're at this time, especially with the young talent that they have that they're eventually going to pay. I want to play another clip from Jeffrey Lurie, and this is something that he was not saying years ago, and I still remember a story in The Athletic when the Eagles went into Lambeau, beat the Packers, and they ran the football against the worst rushing or one of the worst rushing defenses in the league that year. And while the team was celebrating, Jeffrey Lurie pulled Doug Peterson aside and was upset with the usage of the run that day. That was a documented story. And
by people you trust.
Yes. And I remember reading that story going, wow, this is a problem. I understand the owner might want certain things. But the fact that you're going to the head coach after a win and you didn't like how you won is alarming to me. This time around, take a listen to what Jeffrey Lurie had to say yesterday. It's a lot different.
I've always said to our play callers, our coaches, our entire organization, I don't care if you throw the ball 30 times in a row or run the ball 30 times in a row. It's about effectiveness. And there's going to be periods of games and periods of defensive mechanisms or strategies. Super Bowl was a great example. I mean, KC did an outstanding job stopping our running attack. And if we weren't a dynamic passing attack and our passing game wasn't outstanding, who knows what would have happened? And vice versa. Let's say they shut down our passing game. We better have a damn good running game. So I've always felt you've got to have excellence. And it's still a sport where, most teams pass the majority of the time, us included. But I always feel I want us to be great passing the ball, great running the ball, and we were.
The only lie is that you always felt that way, which, again, it's been documented that you weren't always that way, but that's okay. Yeah. He has since learned from that, and that's something that I don't think every team feels that way.
I don't think every team does.
That you have to be excellent in both.
I think
we're going to be really, really good passing the offense, that the run game will benefit from it.
I remember you guys are too young for it. I remember when we had a head coach in this town that some people in my generation worship in Buddy Ryan.
Yeah.
Who literally used to joke on his weekly TV show that the offense was not important and we just need Randall to make 3 or 4 plays a game.
Yeah, that's all we need.
Because of our defense. It was the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life, and for some reason, he had a cult following in this town like I've never seen.
Yeah.
And you have to have that balance. But you're really rarely going to see like what the Eagles had last year. Such excellence on both sides.
Well, of course, yeah.
It was amazing.
But it's just good to hear that the owner is saying publicly, yeah, we would like to be really good in both areas of offense, passing and running, which I know somebody says, duh. Honestly, there's a lot of teams that don't feel that way. They think they could be so exceptional in one area, usually the passing offense, that the running offense will just be okay because of it. And you know what? That's not necessarily always the case. All right, coming up next, we'll check our text line. It's been a while since we did that. Also, imagine changing rules because of jealousy. Yes, we're bringing up the tush push again. It was hinted yesterday by the top insider in sports that the tush push could end because of jealousy. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Mike Missanelli.
You have a stagnant situation.
Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Our man Andrew DeCecco already here, ready to go. He joins us next
Who didn't
segment
know
for
that?
the hour. Of course we knew that was coming. He joins us for the entire 8 o'clock hour as we are 3 weeks away from the NFL draft. Now, speaking of the draft, today's topic was something that stemmed from a off-air comment made by our own Dylan McKinnon. And Dylan is the digital content coordinator here at the station, the D-Train, as you all know, Jackie Moon at Knockout.
He carries the best show ever on his back.
He's a big part of that show. And so Dylan yesterday was taking exception to the numbers that you were giving regarding Dallas Goedert. And he was talking about how
He seemed like, when he came in here, he seemed like a guest on the Jerry Springer show. He was so animated.
he was animated.
I was expecting to have, whatever his name was, Big Mike or whatever, the guy that would come in and Steve Wilcox or whatever,
Don't watch those
take him off stage.
although I do know somebody that was on it.
That's great.
So Dylan was upset that it was like, all right, Dallas Goedert's easily replaceable. And he brought up that the last time the Eagles won the Super Bowl, that they messed up. He basically said, well, Howie's messed it up before. And so I am with Dylan that Dallas Goedert's not easily replaceable. But for me to
The
automatically
thing is, though, you guys
go
are
to
skewing that argument. At no time yesterday can you find me saying he was easily replaceable.
I get it. But what you're saying is they didn't.
What I'm
miss him when
saying
he was
is
out.
they did actually better when he was out.
Right, so-
in many statistical categories.
So some would think that seems like you could replace him.
I'm going to say no. I want the $18 million. That's what. I
Okay.
want.
So Dylan then goes with well, they messed up the last time they won the Super Bowl. And I haven't even had that thought. Like, that has not even come close to my brain right now. I don't like the Chauncey Gardner-Johnson trade. I'll be upset if Dallas Goedert's gone. But I don't go to, man, how he's screwing this up. And so Dylan has chimed in on social media.
I'm glad to see that.
He
He's
said-
always up.
He said, it's not that I don't have faith, but they're going into the draft with more holes than premium draft picks. They won't be able to add an edge, defensive tackle, cornerback, free safety, and tight end all ready to step into big roles year one. It's not a knock on Howie. It's recognizing the situation. And while I have faith in Howie, I don't quite trust Keely Ringo, Sidney Brown, or Grant Calcaterra. I like Hunt, but even if you trust him to be good, you need another edge rusher. Same goes with Ojomo. Now,
Well, nobody is. First of all, you cannot assume that Keely Ringo is being put into the spot that is vacated by Darius Slay.
Right.
You can't assume that on April the 3rd. By the way, I don't think he is. You can't assume that somebody says, well, you can let Dallas Goedert go. Well, Grant Calcaterra is now the number. No, you don't. Grant Calcaterra is going to stay right where he is in this hierarchy. They're going to do something else. That's the issue that I have with the analysis from Dylan.
I think Dylan's just worried that there are a lot of holes that need to be filled.
There are, yes.
But here's the deal. There is still the second, third, fourth wave of free agency. There's going to be, I imagine, Howie makes a trade.
Why do they have these holes, though, Andrew?
Because they won the
Potentially.
Super Bowl and a lot of players got paid.
Okay, take it to the next.
And they have to think about paying the young players.
And to me, the long-term vision of this is going to keep us in a position where we're going to see excellence in football for a long time. I love the long-term vision, and I understand the plan.
And that's why I feel better about the team this time around than last time around, which
No
is one
question.
of our topics today. So what do we have on the text line? And then we'll play you this Adam Schefter audio in a second because he joined us yesterday.
He got a lot of traction on
Yeah,
that.
he may have exposed some people as well. What do we got?
John V checks in, says, I feel significantly better about the next season after this Super Bowl. We have our core still intact, and we have Howie with more experience, plus our roster is pretty damn young. Last Super Bowl win, we knew Foles wouldn't be the long-term starter, and we were praying that Wentz returned to his MVP-like form, plus that team was old.
The age thing is a big part of it. The age thing is a big part of it. And that's why we talk about catching lightning in the bottle back in 2017-18. I loved the fact that they caught that lightning.
Oh, I loved it.
But if we are being honest with ourselves, this team, this current roster is much better than the one that won the Super Bowl the first time.
I think this team would boat race that club.
Yeah, there's a lot of sentimentality with that team.
I mean,
It was the first one.
How about this? Jalen Hurts and that team, they ain't losing to Nick Foles.
Yeah.
And I love Nick Foles. They're not losing to Nick Foles.
Well,
not happening.
unless it's heavenly Nick Foles.
Yeah,
That's
everyone was.
This Eagles defense is not letting Nick Foles throw all over them and beat them up like that. No way in hell is that happening.
Well, anyway,
None.
in heaven, Johnny.
Yeah,
Well, there you go.
I'm
Nick
just saying,
Foles was a
when it came
deity
to
that
Nick
day.
Foles.
Look, we love Nick Foles, but come on, let's keep this based in reality.
Yes, I got you. All right, so Shefty yesterday. Could the tush push be banned because of jealousy? Take a listen to what Shefty had to say. A little bit of a longer answer from Shefty, an animated Shefty yesterday. And you can tell what his feelings are toward it, but here he is doing some reporting on why the tush push could be banned.
People make rules work for them. They apply what they want to apply. In this particular case, I believe that there are people in the league that are jealous of the Eagles' success. I believe there are people that can't duplicate the Eagles' success. I believe the commissioner and others don't like the play, and I believe the play is going to go away. I'm not telling you it's right. I'm surprised that it went this way. I did not think that that was going to happen, but it gathered up momentum, and I believe those people had the support of the commissioner, and I don't know how he's going to do it, but he's going to find the 8 votes he needs to get to 24. I'm just telling you.
I don't believe he's going to get there. I'll disagree. We'll see what happens. But I admire the honesty of Adam Schefter.
Jealousy, jealousy, jealousy.
And let's just say I know for a fact he was getting some, traction after everything was hitting the internet. So
I'm sure.
Great work of B Gun and them getting that out on there.
It's embarrassing that they're jealous of the Eagles' success and they're jealous of how they run the play.
It's true. It's true.
And look,
I mean,
Shefty's not just throwing that out there. Jordan Schultz, a guy that we brought up a couple times yesterday, he spoke with a current NFL GM yesterday. Quote, I think it's pretty soft to ban a play just because you can't stop it. I'll leave the names out of it, but I think you know who I'm talking about. This is hard, dude. Like, seriously, this is being built off of jealousy.
This is where I do not believe he's going to get the votes. I do not believe you are going to move 9 teams off of it. I really don't. And I might have total egg on my face when it happens. But I do not believe you're going to get 9 teams to move
I didn't
off.
think it would be this close at this point. And even Shefty said it.
I'm shocked. But, by the way, NFL Network yesterday was still sticking to the 14 teams.
Okay.
Because Adam goes, well, 16. And it's like, okay, well, Adam's number is 16. NFL Network reporters were more saying 14. So if it's 15, I don't think he's getting the votes. I'll stick with it. Because little weasels like Matt LaFleur.
Yeah.
Come on. Matt LaFleur doesn't relate to Mike Vrabel. He doesn't relate to Dan Quinn.
Yeah, but when
doesn't relate to Dan Quinn. He worked for Dan Quinn.
But when the
and
commissioner comes a knocking, it's different. This isn't a LaFleur thing anymore, John.
Dan Quinn had a chance to hire Matt LaFleur as his offensive coordinator and passed.
Yeah, but that's not what this is about anymore. It's about the commissioner not wanting it.
I agree, but I don't think. What can he do? He's not like he can't punish people. He can't make them vote one way.
Like Shefty said yesterday, his coaches didn't want the new kickoff. But and
then they were out golfing.
A golf trip was able to change the opinion of a lot of voices.
There we go.
And minds. And that's problematic. And I think that opens up a dangerous door in sports. All right, coming up next, Andrew DeCecco, my fellow football guy, joins us for the entire hour. We'll get his thoughts with the latest info on the Tush Push. Dallas Goedert discussion. And then, of course, we got to get all the latest mock drafts with Andrew DeCecco as we are 3 weeks away from day one of the NFL draft. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Another win for the Phillies. I'm Connor Thomas, and the Phillies won again yesterday, a 5-1 victory over the Colorado Rockies. Zach Wheeler was awesome in his start, as he pretty much always is. 7 innings, 10 strikeouts, only 1 earned. He's been great to start the year. So has Edmundo Sosa. He's tearing the cover off the ball right now. 3 for 4 at the dish yesterday, 2 RBIs in big spots. We'll see if the Phils can find a way to keep him in the lineup today. They'll go for the sweep, 1:05 p.m. today. Taijuan Walker takes them out against Antonio Senzatella. Maybe bet the over. The Sixers face the Bucks tonight at 7 p.m. You can hear that game live here on the Fanatic. The Flyers are off until Saturday, and the Tush Push conversation is off until May. It's been tabled at the NFL owners' meetings, but they will have a chance to re-vote on it. And Adam Schefter of ESPN joined us yesterday, and he talked about the thought process behind banning the Tush Push.
I believe that there are people in the league that are jealous of the Eagles' success. I believe there are people that can't duplicate the Eagles' success. I believe the commissioner and others don't like the play, and I believe the play is going to go away.
Jealousy is a nasty beast, but it exists even in the NFL, so we will see what the future of that is. We'll talk to Andrew DeCecco coming up for the entire 8 o'clock hour. This update's brought to you by Wawa with Wawa's new $2 for $6 menu. Craft the order you want with options at $2, $4, and $6. Limited time only, gotta have a Wawa. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic, and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Bill Colarulo.
I would argue there's more risk of injury on a simple, straightforward tackle.
97.5 The Fanatic. Check out the deal of the week. 2 single-day wristbands for the price of 1 at the Funplex in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. Wristbands offer unlimited access to indoor and outdoor rides, 1 hour of bowling, and select video games. Get this exclusive offer while supplies last at 975thefanatic.com/deals. We are 3 weeks away, Johnny, from day 1 of the NFL draft. Round 1, night 1, where the Eagles hold the 32nd overall pick for now. But joining us today and every Thursday up until the draft for an hour is our man from Inside the Birds and our Birds Insider here on 97.5 The Fanatic, Andrew the Checo. Andrew, what's up, brother? Good morning.
Guys, I'm doing great. Great to be with you. How's everything?
Things are good. Things are good.
Life's good.
I'm annoyed by the tush push conversations. Not that we're having them in terms, like, I like content. I'm annoyed that it's happening, though.
It's annoying to cover, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's the number one talking
just
point
tedious.
in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
It's the number one talking point, which is insane to me for a play that averages a yard. So you heard the Schefter clip. I know you were in here when we played it. When Shefty is getting to the point where he's citing jealousy as a reason why the play could be banned, like in terms of people voting against it, right? Like that's not the reason, but deep down, that's what people are actually thinking, and then they'll just throw out the health and safety protocols, which that's not there. There's no documented information about injuries. Your thoughts on the latest discourse when it comes to the tush push?
yeah, I think it is jealousy because the Eagles run the play more effectively than any other team out there, and the play is available to every team out there. They don't run it as effectively, and I think that lost in all this is the hypocrisy from someone like Sean McDermott, whose team, the Buffalo Bills, they run that play the second most times of any team. They're just not effective at it. And I think when you're the Eagles and you're already a successful team, you already have a head coach who, let's face it, he might not. He rubs a lot of teams and a lot of figures around the NFL the wrong way. So when you're so good at things and you have a play that's unstoppable, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to try and do everything that they can to take that away from you and stop it. It's unfair, it's cowardly, and it's something that I really do believe, and you heard Adam Schefter yesterday, of course, that the league's really going to try and push through. It doesn't feel like an if, it feels like when. They're delaying the inevitable here and trying to get rid of the play.
Is that a bad mark on the sport? Like, think about it for a second. Like,
or do we think it's a bad mark of the sport because we're here?
I understand. Yes,
like I think it's a bad mark on the sport, but I'll be honest, I can't judge whether it's me being an Eagles fan.
Yeah, but when we're throwing out words like cowardly, as you just said, Andrew, and weak and wussy and eyebrow
wussy,
and eyebrow waxing,
sissy boy.
When we're throwing all these things out, like, how can Roger Goodell, and I get it, the tush push, if it's banned this year, will be forgotten about in 3 to 4 years. There's going to be a new fiasco that we're going to have to talk about. I get it. But when you're Roger Goodell, you're the commissioner of the NFL, and people are talking about the soft nature of this discussion, doesn't that put a bad mark on your sport?
It's incredibly soft, and especially when most of these coaches, or the concern that they're proposing is player safety. There hasn't been any injuries attributed to that play. Now, no, don't get me wrong. You can roll an ankle on a play like that.
Jason Kelce has been on the record saying he hated being on the bottom of that pile as many times as he did.
You can get hurt on any play.
Right.
At any given time. So I think to use that as just a crutch, and it seems like they're grasping for straws. That being said, they're going to try and lobby and try to get as much teams on their side as possible within the next month and try and get that thing outlawed. But again, I just think it's nonsensical, and it really is cowardly because if it were easy, every team would do it. The Eagles, and I think to take that play away, guys, is discrediting the effort, the time, the strategy, the tactical approach that the Eagles really put into that play. And they really do. That's something that they take a lot of pride in. You heard Nick Sirianni talk about that at the NFL Scouting Combine. He was offended at the fact that people didn't view it as a football play, or they discounted the effort and the strategy that goes into it. And I think the NFL really needs to take a hard look at their approach here.
I love it. You're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN, WPN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, BZ Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibility.
When you look at all that discourse and the discussions that we've been having on Dallas Goedert, and I didn't know because I tried to tell you yesterday, I said, I want you to hear it. I want Football Guy to hear it. There is no statistical evidence, much like injuries with the tush push, to say that the Eagles miss even a step when Dallas Goedert's out. And it's 15 games of data over 3 seasons. to me, I don't want to see him go. But if he wants to get paid, you got to say bye-bye. And I'm not that worried that it's going to be this huge impact. Is that too arrogant on my part or just dismissive of what he brought to the table?
So I definitely respect the opinion and the logic, but for me, I've never been one that I don't lean too heavily or getting too much in the weeds with stats. Are the Eagles a better football team with Dallas Goedert on it? Absolutely. Is he the best blocking tight end on the team? Has he made an impact on other players and developed them? Yes. Does he give you that vertical element and make life easier for Jalen Hurts? Absolutely. And when healthy, he's one of the best tight ends in the NFL. So I don't know that it should be perceived as a luxury that the Eagles. I'm not saying you said that, John, but
no.
I don't know that it should be perceived as a luxury that the Eagles have Dallas Goedert, because to suggest that makes it seem like he can plug any player with inferior talent in there and they're going to kind of make the same impact. And when you're the Eagles, and Nick Sirianni said this many times, the passing game runs through A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. He obviously has a pivotal role in that offense, and there's a certain trust factor that he has with Jalen Hurts. So, understandably, at 30 years old, given the charge that he has for this year, it's really difficult to see him being on the roster, aside from some drastic restructure. But the Eagles have to, guys, identify his successor in the draft, and I believe that they will fairly early.
So to that point, I'm glad that you're here today, because we had this Dallas Goedert conversation yesterday, and it's spilled into today's show as well. Who would you give some of the best comps to Goedert in the draft? Because it's one thing to say, hey, we're going to draft his replacement, but it's not just drafting the position. It's everything that you mentioned. Obviously, he's great with his hands, but he's also great at blocking. Like that stuff is all
Very
true,
good, yeah.
And that's why Calcaterra has a certain ceiling, right? So Dallas Goedert, who are some of the comps in the draft? And we've seen it really in recent years. Sam Laporta be able to step right in. Trey McBride with the Cardinals last year had a freaking amazing season as a rookie. It's not like tight ends coming out of the draft take 3-4 years to really start meshing, but you would still like, in terms of this team, the way this offense runs, a lot of stuff underneath, a lot of running, a lot of physicality. Nick Sirianni himself has said that their number one, I don't know, one of their number one things is physicality with this team. That's we are a physical team. I still remember Nick Sirianni. Yeah,
yep.
Thank you. Characteristic. Who's the comp in the draft for Dallas Goedert that could come here to Philadelphia?
Well, the first player that comes to mind is Terrence Ferguson from Oregon. 6'5", 255. I think he's really effective after the catch, plays with some attitude. Still, he doesn't have Dallas Goedert's blocking prowess, but there's a player that I really like, and you'll appreciate this comp. Mason Tower from LSU. When I did my draft special last night, I had the Eagles taking him at 32 because all the information that I've gathered suggests that he's going to come off the board on Thursday. Now, his comp would be Zach Ertz.
Okay.
He is very good at finding the soft spots in zone, strong hands, good route runner, and somebody that would be a security blanket for Jalen Hurts and be able to take those quick hitters and make something happen after the catch. Still, blocking prowess is going to be an issue, but it's not that he's unwilling. I think that's an area in which he can refine with the proper coaching. And Jason Michael, the Eagles tight ends coach, has done a tremendous job developing some of those depth players and younger players.
Not former Phillies outfielder Jason Michaels.
Jason Michaels, number 22.
Yeah, of course, Jason Michaels. Hang on now. So you have them going tight end potentially at 32.
Yes.
Is that too high of a draft pick to use on position when you have so many issues potential issues on the defense?
Well, it's a position of need, and rather than taking maybe the third best edge rusher or the third best defensive tackle,
BPA, baby.
Mason Taylor is my top-rated tight end. So by that logic, that would be the best player available at 32. You have your successor for Dallas Goedert, and you're able to kind of hone that skill and get him to be your tight end for the future.
If you were to suggest the top tier of tight ends, so if you were to say, here's the best guys that are available that you think could be first or second night tight ends, where do you have to shop numbers-wise to be in the mix for them? Numbers-wise from the first 3 nights of the draft. So we're probably talking like the first 96, with the comp picks, 110 picks.
Yeah, that's a great question. Great question, John. So 32 is going to be Colston Loveland.
Okay.
It's going to be Mason Taylor. Depending on who you prefer, I like Mason Taylor better. I think he's a much more polished player, better route runner. But around 64 is where you're going to see a Harold Fannin Jr. from Bowling Green.
I like him.
And Elijah Arroyo and Terrence Ferguson right around that 96 range where the Eagles will be picking. That would be right within their striking distance to kind of give you an idea of where these guys are.
I went into that rabbit hole of Fannin because I knew nothing about him.
Remarkably productive player.
I knew nothing about him. Never heard his name or anything.
He does have that Bowling Green connection with Scott Leffler, who the Eagles quarterbacks coach.
That's a big one right there.
Former
All right,
Temple coach.
coming up next. So we have today's headlines with Connor Thomas. Andrew DeCecco is with us for the hour. So here's what we're going to do. If you have any draft-related questions for him, text them in at 610-632-0975. Anything when it comes to the Birds and the draft, text it in for Andrew. What I want to do is sneak in one before headlines. So get to work, people. All right, I'm making you guys do our
we
jobs.
got one from like 6:15 this morning.
Oh, okay,
the
good.
People were ready
so
for
we
Andrew.
already have draft questions. That's great. Send more in at 610-632-0975. We'll read a text. We'll get to today's headlines, and then we'll dive deeper into the draft in the following segment. We'll get DeCecco's latest mock. We'll do some percentage breakdowns by position in terms of where he thinks the Eagles may go early on. It is Kincade and Salciunas. Andrew DeCecco with us for the hour here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Tyrone Johnson.
Howie so far. Outside.
Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic, on a Thursday, 3 weeks before the draft, which means Andrew DeCecco is with us for the rest of this hour. But before we continue our draft talk, we do have today's headlines, but I do want to sneak in one text. What was the text? We had a 6:15 a.m. text for Andrew DeCecco.
Okay, I checked. It's actually 6:38, so that's
still
my bad.
awesome.
It was probably Scott Masteller saying,
Probably.
get with it, boys.
It was Jared from Omaha, and he wants to know
Jared.
your thoughts on safety Xavier Watts.
Love you, Jared.
Love him. Yeah, he's a great player. Brennan Gunn and I actually were speaking about him on my Saturday show, Early Birds, and that's a guy that I could see at pick 64 being a possibility, although, tease here, I have the Eagles taking another safety at 64.
Okay.
But I really like Xavier Watts' ability, and I think he would be a custom fit, a tailor-made fit for Vic Fangio's defense. High IQ player and somebody who has really good ball skills.
I still think about safety with this team because I'm not still happy with the Chauncey Gardner-Johnson thing. You think it's almost like a borderline lock that they target safety in the draft? Because I don't know. I can't go into the season with full faith in Sidney Brown.
I don't think that you can. And I purposefully went through and I broke down all the three positions of need that I thought that they were the most razor thin. And safety was the one that I led off with. And just to kind of put it into perspective here, Sidney Brown, Reed Blankenship, Tristan McCollum, Lewis Seen, and Andre Sam.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to add to that room. And I think you can not afford to wait until day 2. I think, or sorry, day 3. You have to take one on day 2. I think that's the latest that you could do.
Well, and that goes back to the Lance Zierlein thing, which I'm going to bring up to you. Lance Zierlein, who does a great job covering the draft, he did like power rankings of positions in the draft, and I believe safety was dead last for him, just top heavy.
As far as depth.
You can't wait to get a safety. And I think the second round, I don't believe the Eagles would take a safety in the first round.
Yeah.
Barring something unforeseen, like maybe Georgia's Malachi Stark slips a little bit, and the Eagles get a little bit aggressive, and he falls within striking distance, and they try to get him. That would be a great fit in any defense. But Vic Fangio would work wonders with them.
Damn right.
But at pick 64, I had the Eagles taking Andrew Makuba, the safety from Texas.
Wow.
One of my favorite defensive players.
The Eagles are on the clock.
He made some plays.
Yeah, I just don't like the first
highly
name.
intelligent.
Wow. Thanks a lot.
Well, that sounds like a you problem there.
Exactly. That's more football
Connor,
guys
he
named
knows
Andrew in this city.
Connor, you should worry more about the haircut than the names of all.
That's
My
right.
goodness.
Damn right.
Throw it to headlines. I'm done with this guy today.
Time now for the rat haircut headlines. Connor Thomas.
Billy Ray Cyrus.
Today's headlines
rat tail.
with Connor Thomas.
Billy Ray Cyrus.
Go ahead. You still,
Let me at least get the sponsor out.
Are you
before
pitching for your
demolish me.
D3 school today?
Calm down. Today's headlines is brought to you, as always, by Lundy Law. For over 70 years, Lundy Law has been fighting for injured people. If you need them, remember the name Lundy Law, your injury lawyers. Visit LundyLaw.com.
Do they fight for bad haircuts, too?
Let me read the darn sponsor.
Would you get a free bowl of soup with that haircut?
Oh, my God.
You can get a lot of haircuts with up to $204 million. The next biggest contract has been handed out in Major League Baseball. Jackson Merrill, a young outfielder for the San Diego Padres, got a 9-year deal.
Yep.
And I want to know, he's 21 years old. What would you guys have done at age 21, knowing you got up to $204 million coming to you? What's your first purchase?
The homestead.
Yeah.
The homestead, and if I knew an organization believed in me that much, I'm talking about the perfect homestead for me. So I'm picking my spot, building my house.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm moving to L.A. I'm building a mansion in L.A. I love California. Big fan of L.A. West Hollywood.
Yeah.
To be specific.
Now look, you're asking me if
A lot of empty lots in that area. Right
we
now.
have to have the mindset of
unfortunately.
we're professional athletes,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy a dispensary. Like I can't. I can't be doing that.
No,
if I'm
you
a
can't.
Major
But
League
you are
Baseball
21. I would go bottle service. We'll take the home later.
Well, I would.
Thing is-
I would celebrate. I would celebrate with my honestly closest relative. Like I think about all the games my dad took me to, and all. Like I don't think I'm getting whacked. I'm going out for a few beers with my dad and thanking him.
I think I would go to Doc's place, my brother, and I would actually update his life from 1988 to 2025.
Yeah,
'Cause
taking care of
literally-
family is a good
yeah,
thing.
because he sort of lives like and he doesn't have to, but he lives like he's like a hitman on The Sopranos. Can't the old phones, the old stuff. You got to upgrade.
Well, probably the first thing I'm doing is going to GW Fins and getting Barracuda
Damn
again.
right, man. Damn
Oh.
right.
Listen, it's a big win for the Merrill family and Jackson Merrill, so shout out to him
Good
on
for
that
them.
big contract. Not a win for the Braves last night, who have lost again.
Love it.
And we have the TV call for you from the Braves network. It's just getting sad at this point.
2 for 4 with 2 singles tonight. Out to center field. Harris is back at the wall, and the heartache has hit a new level for the Atlanta Braves. Ohtani and the Dodgers walk it off with a homer.
Do you recognize the voice? You guys are video game guys, right?
I'm not.
Brandon
guess.
Gaudin?
Oh, I like Brandon Gaudin.
Yeah, Brandon Gaudin.
Yeah.
Did not recognize that, but I do recognize the sweet sounds of the Atlanta Braves losing again. They are winless. Shohei Ohtani, a walk-off homer, a major comeback. They're falling apart, man.
Ooh, delicious.
Yeah, love it. Look, another loss, and as you said to me earlier this morning, no team has ever made the playoffs starting the season 0-7.
None.
So I like that.
They're coming apart at the seams already.
It's bad, and you just hope that the bad luck that has hit them doesn't hit us. So I always just say I don't root for injuries, but I do root for the Braves losing to the Phillies.
Well, Johnny, good news is you're on record as not a luck guy, so we shouldn't have to worry about
it. There it is.
We'll round out with the replay.
How do you not have faith in Howie and the Eagles' process at this point?
I think there's very few people that don't. Like, I know this started with a conversation with our own Dylan McKinnon from yesterday. I think like 97% of this fan base is probably how he can do no wrong at this point, or how he can do mostly right at this point. I don't think there's many people doubting the Eagles' process, and I don't know how you logically get to that spot.
Yeah, I don't think many people do, and I just can't believe that he said that, because that's not even been a remote thought on my mind that it didn't go well last time after they won the Super Bowl. Like, that's just not even close on my mind right now.
I don't think it is for a lot of people.
Well, now there's been a 4-year sample size here where he's just completely crushed it in the draft and made some very calculated and difficult decisions in free agency as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's doing a great job.
He's done a great job.
There was one story I thought that you would bring up as a seam head. Did you hear about this kid from North Carolina, Aiden Haw?
No.
Pitcher? So back on March the 23rd, it just kind of made its rounds on social media. He was throwing a no-hitter, and they were run ruling the Boston College squad. The last out, the batter hits the ball, and it hits a runner on first. It wasn't going to be a perfect game, so there was a runner on first base. So it hit the base runner, which is an automatic out. According to the rule book, it's a hit.
But the runner on base is out.
So he lost his no-hitter because of technicalities.
Shouldn't have given it up. Pitch better. Sorry about that.
Pitch better.
Pitch better, yeah.
No, really. I mean, pitch better.
All right, coming up next, Andrew DeCecco, his latest mock. And we do a percentage breakdown by position of where the Eagles could target early on. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The Phils win their first 2 series. I'm Connor Thomas, and yes, another series win for the Fightins yesterday as they took down the Rockies 5-1. They've taken the first 2 games against Colorado. Zach Wheeler, a huge part of that win yesterday. 7 innings worth of work, 10 strikeouts, only 1 earned. He is an absolute monster. And Edmundo Sammy Sosa has been tearing the cover off the ball so far to start the year. He's 3 for 4 yesterday, 2 RBIs, batting .600 on the year. We'll see if the Phils can find a way to keep him in the lineup. He's a great bench depth piece, but right now it would be hard to take him out of it. We'll see what happens when the Phils go for the sweep. At 1:05 p.m. today, Taijuan Walker makes his first start of the year, facing off against Antonio Senzatella. The Sixers face the Bucks tonight at 7. You can hear that game live here on the Fanatic. Flyers off until Saturday. And the Tush Push, well, it was tabled until the May meetings. It will not be voted on at the time, but Adam Schefter joined us yesterday and talked about the thought process behind the push to ban it.
I believe that there are people in the league that are jealous of the Eagles' success. I believe there are people that can't duplicate the Eagles' success. I believe the commissioner and others don't like the play, and I believe the play is going to go away.
Well, jealousy is a tough thing to deal with, but when you're the champs, you kind of have to. Andrew DeCecco will remain with us for the entire 8 o'clock hour. This update is brought to you by AAA Car Care. Save $84 on select sets of Ford and Kia and tires at AAA Car Care Centers. Offer ends April 15th. Details at AAA.com/mycar. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Baseball season is here, and we have
Mark.
And you look like a actual young business person. It's wonderful.
I'm wearing my pants because
I got pants.
I don't want to be chastised by John Kincade.
Yeah, you're not going to.
Listen,
Well,
no shorts.
how about this?
No shorts.
We're gonna head down, maybe watch a little batting practice if we can, if we get there early
Yeah,
enough.
because I got the New Deck Tavern at 1:00, the Corona event, but I'm still going to do my due diligence as a journalist.
So if you're down there, you don't want to be the journalist wearing shorts.
I've worn shorts in that press box before, and nobody said a damn thing.
There's zero.
You're doing so well, man.
Nobody said a damn thing.
It's a big zero the other day of any members of the media wearing shorts. And
it's taboo.
And at
Wasn't
batting,
warm enough yet.
And at batting practice, there really isn't any media members down there wearing shorts.
You wait. Give it about a month or two.
No.
You think it's a country club?
No.
Hell
A
yeah,
summer
it is,
camp?
man.
It's work.
I'm Nick.
It's a work
I'm
event.
Nick Sirianni. I'm the guy in the shorts.
Showing up
I'm
in
the
shorts.
I'm the trendsetter. All right, so we're 3 weeks from the NFL draft, and I know you will be updating your mock drafts and updating your opinions based off of the reporting that you do and feel and all that kind of stuff. So I know you did this special show last night, and I know that it's available on YouTube, so people should be able to go back and watch that. Or listen to it on
After the first segment, it was
975thefanatic.com.
awesome.
Well, if you go to the website, you'll hear all the audio. But I want to know your latest selection for the Eagles at 32. But then after that, we're going to do a little bit of an exercise where we're going to try to do the percentage pie of where you think position-wise they could target. And I know you're a best player available guy, which I think is smart for where the Eagles are at. But give us the latest feel that you have for the Eagles at 32.
So at 32, there's two players that I could really foresee the Eagles taking. One of them will be edge rusher Donovan Ezaraku from Boston College, just an Eagles type of player. Long arms, really athletic edge rusher, kind of has a body type of Jalix Hunt, and he could add some more strength to his size. But Mason Taylor, the tight end from LSU at 32, is who I had the Eagles taking. Especially coming on the heels of the Nick Sirianni comments made about Dallas Goedert at the owners' meetings, it seems very much like when they move on from Dallas Goedert. With that, you have to get the premium talent, and in that case, that would be my top-rated tight end. He's right there. I think you take him, and Jalen Hurts and the Eagles' offense would be best served to get a player like that. And I think he's custom fit for what they're going to look to do with Kevin Patullo and Nick Sirianni.
And you think it's at 32?
I think that if he's available there, they're going to have to think long and hard about it.
I'm saying like move up even.
No, I think Mason Taylor, everything that I've gathered, and there's going to be teams that prefer Colston, Loveland as well, but I think that Taylor comes off the board on Thursday night, and I think that he probably slots in at the back end of round one. But guys, I also would not rule out, and if you hear the comments made by Nick Sirianni on Tuesday, very lukewarm endorsement for Keely Ringo, and they also have a Dory Jackson there, I understand, but the Eagles prioritize cornerback, so Savone Revel from East Carolina is a player that I love. I have either the Chiefs or the Eagles there as a potential fit. And Maxwell Harrison, who I mentioned on our social media before, a cornerback from Kentucky, 5'11", 185. The Eagles have shown some interest in him as well.
He's also got some good tape from some big games against big opponents.
Yes, and he ran a 4.2 at the NFL Scouting Combine, so that also helps.
Right now when you're talking about that movement, those fifth-round picks, you probably, if you used one in the first round, you probably could move up a spot. It's a high value. Second round, third round, a fifth rounder can move you up 4 spots, 5 spots.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you think those fifth rounders are going to be used like that?
I think this year should be about volume because they need a lot of younger players to continue to fill out the roster and develop. Granted, you don't need necessarily four fifth-round picks, so I would expect maybe one of them maybe to be utilized, maybe even 2, even to get a player in a trade as well. Like we saw with DeAndre Swift a couple of years ago. There's also the Eagles could go the route of maybe trying to get a Michael Mayer, the tight end, via trade. Although that's a name that I hear a lot, but he hasn't been overly productive for 2 seasons.
You hear it out of Delco with all the fake Notre Dame fans.
Yeah, so I think if you're the Eagles and you have a chance to add the best player at that position, a young player, by the way, the son of Jason Taylor, his uncle is Zach Thomas, so you like that, all the different bloodlines that he has around him. So
good football family.
That's pretty good.
That's good bloodlines.
All right, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to try to give us a percentage breakdown. So if I gave you, edge, defensive tackle, tight end, corner, as you just mentioned, What are some of the top positions, areas on the field that you think they will address with the first-round pick? And if you were to order it percentage-wise, where do you think is most likely?
Defensive tackle, because of the philosophical approach for the Eagles. They always prioritize fortifying the trenches. And defensive tackle, on the surface, it may not look like an area that has some need, but to break it down, we all know that Jalen Carter's primed to become maybe the face of the defensive side of the ball of the NFL.
Right.
He's that good of a player. But Milton Williams played 48% of the snaps last season for the Eagles. And Jordan Davis and Moro Ojomo played the same amount of snaps, 388. That's 37%. So to expect that either one is going to be able to step up and fill that void, those 48% of the defensive snaps, is a little presumptuous. I think the Eagles would be best served adding a player there. And if Walter Nolan, the defensive tackle from Ole Miss, is there, that would be really hard to bypass. That would be one that I could see the Eagles being aggressive for.
Okay.
That's I did not, 48% of the snaps?
48%.
No, I did not know that. Like, I did not know how much.
What's even more incredible, John, is that Jordan Davis and Moro Ojomo played the same amount of snaps.
That is absolutely crazy. Ojomo, people are like just penciling him in as he's an answer already. Now, that is something I'm very skeptical of. Is he somebody where with a Sharpie, not a pencil, you're penciling him in and said, there's an answer?
He's an answer. He's not the answer, if that makes sense, to be that second defensive tackle. The Eagles like him, and this is a player, John, that he dominated every practice last summer. He was very disruptive. That doesn't always correlate to regular season success. In his case, it did. He is a young player, versatile, very physical for his size. But whenever Vic Fangio is asked about him, he always says he has surprising amount of power and physicality for an undersized player. So the concern that I have with Moro Ojomo, John, is that sometimes when you're thrusting a player like that into a more prominent role that is undersized, that maybe diminishes their effectiveness and you can wear down. And all of a sudden you don't have that same explosiveness that made you such an effective player, which is why I think it behooves the Eagles to draft a defensive tackle fairly early.
We got a DeCecco behooves.
I shifted right over to
I know this show is just thriving today.
We are.
What do we have on the text line? Any draft-related questions for Andrew DeCecco? You can send them in at 610-632-0975.
We do. First-time texter here wanted to check in with Andrew and ask, do you guys think the Eagles could use another receiver via the draft?
Yeah, I mean, I do believe that they could because this...
Third day.
Third day.
So that's
third day.
Fourth round or below.
I'm not sure where either of you land on Johnny Wilson or Aniyah Smith, but the Eagles don't have a lot of depth there behind A.J. Brown and Devontae
Johnny Wilson
Smith.
was disappointing, but his measurables you want to give, I don't want to give up yet. You know what I mean?
You can't, and they certainly won't. They're going to give him every opportunity, but I think if you look at the roster and the depth chart right now, you don't just necessarily want to hand two players a spot. There's the Britton Covey's no longer there.
Right.
They don't have a lot of optionality. Danny Gray is a player who was on the practice squad, who was a third-round pick of the 49ers a few years ago, really fast. He's going to have every opportunity. But I think the Eagles will be best served with drafting a player on day 3, and maybe you have something there.
What's so funny, Chuck?
I'd swipe right on Johnny Wilson.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know who's swiping right on Johnny Wilson. Yeah, do you see his...
Nah, I didn't see
his Hinge profile.
His Hinge profile is
this week.
absolutely him in his Eagles jersey.
Well, you sure that it's him?
Yes, it's verified.
Look, it's
a verified account. I'm like, seriously, dude?
It's a great flex.
Yeah, baby, work your game.
It's a great flex.
Seriously.
It's a great flex.
Yeah,
what do you want to do? His prom picture? He's an Eagle.
No, you don't have to do that.
I'd be doing that.
Oh, I know you would.
All right, coming up next.
Not a question.
I mentioned this earlier. We went through this earlier in the week, but I'm curious to see how Andrew DeCecco feels about it. Lance Zierlein, who does a great job as a draft analyst for the NFL Network, he did a power ranking by position in this draft in terms of overall depth. So not like just the best player, but in terms of depth. And I'm curious to see how Andrew DeCecco feels about it. And also, I'll ask him if he believes this is the perfect draft for the Birds. It is Kincade and Salciunas. Andrew DeCecco is with us for the remainder of the hour here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Mike Missanelli, Bill Colarulo, and
97.5 The Fanatic. Real quick, before we get to these rankings by position.
What are you looking at, Johnny Wilson's Twitter? Johnny Wilson's Hinge?
No, I have other rankings.
All right.
I just saw this tweet from a Philadelphian. Lang Doctor. I apologize. I hope I'm saying
What's
it
up,
correctly.
Lang Doctor?
They found a power ranking for the most attractive jobs. So a job that a woman has that a male finds attractive, and
Okay.
vice versa. A job that a male has that a woman finds attractive.
Radio producer.
Radio in general did not make the top 25.
That's
Damn,
a stunner.
Wait a minute, though. Wait a minute.
25 jobs.
Let's be honest. Most radio shows don't look like us.
That's true. This is one
Let's be
hell of a
honest.
good-looking
That's
show.
Most of them look like, it's not. Let's just say it's not us.
That sounds like a DNA thing.
Yeah, so it's like they can't help it.
So
Radio is not a incredibly attractive industry, but I think when they put this show together, they said, "Ladies, what's up?"
in case you're wondering, top 5. So here are the jobs that men have that women find attractive.
Can I guess a couple?
Sure, top 5.
Firefighter,
That would have been my first guess.
6th.
Oh,
They are
Police
6th
officer.
on the
police
list.
officer.
11th on the
Wow.
list.
personal trainer.
I don't see them on here.
Huh.
Construction worker.
So carpenter is 3rd.
Shout out Jesus.
Sorry, construction worker's 7th on the list.
Okay, it's got to be there.
But carpenter's 3rd.
It's not a professional athlete.
No.
Mechanic.
I think
Wait a
this
minute.
is like everyday.
Oh, this is everyday jobs.
Everyday
Mechanic.
job.
No, they got to clean up all.
Mechanic is 9th.
Really? Just
What's the
third?
top
Working
5?
on cars.
Your top 5. 5 is project manager.
What?
Come on.
What? Get out of here.
Engineer is 4th.
Oh, get out of here.
Carpenter 3rd. And then you get the 2 big money ones. Lawyer number 2, doctor number 1.
Okay, those
Wait a
make
minute.
sense.
I got to tell you, I love my doctors. They saved my life. But I don't think any one of them are doing, that the women are coming in and saying, this isn't, it isn't ER. It isn't one of these shows on TV where the doctors look like George Clooney. That's not what it is. Most of the doctors spend a lot of time in not well-lit rooms, a little pasty.
Wow. I mean,
Shout out.
That's you. You could be the judge.
I don't know.
All right, the other side, the jobs that women have that men find most attractive.
Nurse.
School teacher.
School teacher and nurse. Nurse number 1.
Now, do they-
See, this is easier for us.
Oh, yeah.
Nurse is number 1. School teacher is number 2.
Now, is it naughty nurse? Or
I think
is
we're
it
just
the-
going normal
It's a
nurse.
family program, John.
But people have
Wait a minute.
the opinions, the thoughts, the
Weather. How about weather girl?
no.
No.
Honestly, it's very, very stereotypical.
Bill Colarulo says, where does lawyer turn radio host?
Oh, well,
Lawyer
That's
is
a little
fit
bit
for
by
further.
the way,
That's a little further down the
lawyer is
list.
5th. It's,
Yeah, lawyer's fifth.
It's very stereotypical. Secretary is 4th,
Secretary.
and doctor is
Okay.
3rd.
Lawyer was
Doctor's
5th, Bill.
third.
Yeah.
Lawyer was 5th,
Lawyer
Bill.
was
You
there's
should have
the mix.
stayed.
Oh, no. This was the job
Oh, no,
that
this is the
women
women.
have.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Men
man, he's
find
doing
it.
good.
But lawyer's
is
second.
military.
No, lawyer's second.
Haley wants to know, is military on the list?
17th.
Because I will tell you, when a guy in uniform comes into anywhere that I am, I will observe the women all turning and checking out the guy in his army outfit, naval outfit. They're dressed.
But here's what
always.
you got to understand. Not everybody rocks with certain things. You brought up police officers. Obviously, there have been times where people aren't in
Yes.
favor of, we support the troops on this show.
Oh,
and
sure, we do.
We support the police.
Yes, we do.
But not everybody feels that way, which is why they could get dinged in terms of the overall rankings.
Could be.
Everybody likes doctors.
personal bias.
Yes, exactly.
Not everybody likes doctors. I get the shakes when I see them.
Yeah, but they're there to help you.
But they're great.
All
Thank
right.
you. And
So-
Dr. Sprandio, you're not in any way pasty.
I don't know. You
He
said
gets
all
a-
your
no,
doctors.
he
you
gets a-
basically
no.
said all your doctors are
No,
ugly.
the
is what
Sprandios
you
go
said.
down to
I hope they're listening.
They go
Yeah, I
down to
know.
Stone Harbor, and in Stone Harbor they get tan in the summer. So all the Sprandios, they're all there. There's 3 of them in one
What do you
family.
say we get to the real list?
Here's the real ranking. All right. The 11 position groups in the 2025
Okay.
NFL draft. These are Lance Zierlein's power rankings. I'm curious.
I like his stuff.
How Andrew DiCecco goes, because I like Lance's stuff a lot, but Andrew DiCecco's you're my guy.
I appreciate
All right?
that.
So this is in order, and you can stop me if you want. In terms of depth, so it's not just the superb talent at the top. This is rounds 1 through 7. His rankings of overall depth by position. Number 1, he has edge defender / rusher.
Yep.
Number 2, he has running back. Number 3, interior defensive line. 4 is tight end. 5, offensive tackle. 6th, wide receiver. Tied for 7th is cornerback and interior offensive lineman. 9th is linebacker. 10th is quarterback for you quarterback-starved teams that will make mistakes in a couple of weeks. And lastly, what I told you earlier, safety. Do you have any exception to that ranking, those rankings?
I would probably flip-flop interior defensive line and edge rusher. I would have interior defensive line as the top one.
Okay.
But other than that, I don't really have any objection. It really accents how light this class is in terms of viable safety play if you're a team in need of one. So that's why I think it would serve the Eagles well to draft one fairly early.
And so that's why I say, Andrew, that this draft, I'm curious to get your thoughts on it, is almost perfect for the Eagles. In terms
sitting
of
there where they are?
What they need, where they're at, what they want, and the way, if this is accurate, and you say the only thing you're flipping is edge rusher and interior defensive line, the top 5 or 6 rankings that Lance has here are the positions where they should be targeting, and if they're going to target a safety early, they can do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I really do expect the Eagles to draft a interior defensive line early. And when I was last on with you guys, I was at Maryland's Pro Day. And the player that I mentioned to you was Jordan Phillips, the defensive tackle. I have him going in the 3rd round. And I have to tell you, that was a player that I mentioned before the Pro Day, and I left there incredibly impressed. Don't quote me on this. He might be the youngest player in the draft, but he told me that he models his game after Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and he also mentioned Javon Hargrave. Powerful player, moved really well, 6'2", 320. So I think that, and he kind of reminds me a little bit of Milton Williams. So, spoiler alert, I had the Eagles taking him in the 3rd round.
Okay, Milton Williams, and it's one of the things is Dylan responded on Twitter and talking about, yeah, I'm worried, though, that the guys they get in the draft aren't going to be able to contribute, aren't going to be great year one. I said, the vast majority of guys drafted in any round aren't great year one. Mm-hmm. So the thing is, though, do you believe this is a draft where guys can step in and be adequate to sustaining all that's around them, that they aren't a problem?
Yeah, I do, especially given the certain positions. I think in the first 2 rounds, there's a lot of players who are pro-ready. And also, not every player, as we all know, is ready to step in and be a prominent contributor as a rookie. Look at Nolan Smith. As a rookie, he played 16% of the snaps, and there were there are pockets of the fan base that didn't even believe that he could play, which is why I am adamant about giving young players the opportunity to grow and develop before you sort of make a determination on their career. But yeah, John, to answer your question, there are, in the earlier rounds, there are players that I believe, a lot of players that are going to be plug and play.
Love that.
Yeah,
I
love that. That's great, especially when it comes to this
especially
team.
Especially the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
I want some plug-and-play guys.
They need a lot of players. All right, we got another segment left with our man, Andrew DeCecco. We'll check the text line. And also, Howie Roseman said something yesterday about players that they take off their draft board right away. We're going to play it for you, and we will react. We discuss drafting for talent and culture next. It is Kincade and Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
A tough call for Topper. I'm Connor Thomas, and the Phillies might have given Rob Thompson his toughest decision so far this year. They won yesterday, 5-1 over the Rockies. Zach Wheeler was dominant, going 7 innings with 10 strikeouts and only 1 earned. Nothing difficult about that, but Edmundo Sosa's tearing the cover off the ball right now to start the year. He went 3 for 4 yesterday with 2 RBIs. Phil's got to see if they can get him in the lineup again today as they go for the sweep. So, could Topper find a way to do that? We'll keep you updated at 1:05 when first pitch is scheduled for Taijuan Walker and Antonio Senzatella, the pitching matchup. Sixers face the Bucks tonight at 7. You can hear that game live here on the Fanatic. Flyers off until Saturday. And the Tush push was pushed until May. The vote on it, that is. Adam Schefter joined us yesterday, and he talked about the thought process behind trying to ban the Tush push.
I believe that there are people in the league that are jealous of the Eagles' success. I believe there are people that can't duplicate the Eagles' success. I believe the commissioner and others don't like the play, and I believe the play is going to go away.
So we'll keep you updated on that. We'll continue our conversation on the Birds with Andrew DiCecco, who remains with us for another segment. This update is brought to you by Groundworks, your expert for basement waterproofing and foundation repair since 1997. Book your free inspection at groundworks.com. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Vacation, visit.
Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. We got another segment left with our man Andrew DiCecco. We've been talking a lot about the draft. Let's get a text message in if we have any draft questions for Andrew on the text line at 610-632-0975. And then we're going to play you something from Howie Roseman because he was very honest about evaluation of players and how somebody or certain instances get you right off the draft board right away. And it's something that we will talk about. But what do we have on the text line?
So not necessarily a draft question, but a drafted player from last year question. A question for football guy Andrew. Do you believe Jalix Hunt can be a 3-down player in year 2? Can he hold up against the run?
I love that question. And I've gone on record by saying that I believe that Jalix Hunt, of all the Eagles' defensive players, is going to make the most the largest leap, I would say, of any player. I think when you see the development that he's shown from a raw player out of Houston Christian in the summer, many of which believe that he was going to be a redshirt player, to all of a sudden he becomes the third edge rusher in a rotation, and he's playing meaningful snaps in the Super Bowl and providing pressure, and he picked up a sack. I mean, I think that's a big indicator that he's headed for some great things. And, yes, I do believe he can be a three-down player. Wouldn't be surprised, to me at least, if he challenges Azeez Ojulari as that bookend opposite Nolan Smith.
All right. I love that.
I love the fact that you nailed that before the draft. And I admit
the league was way
higher.
The league was high on him.
Yeah.
And I tweeted out. I tweeted out around this time last year. I said he's going to go late day 2. He went late day 2.
All right, and we got something else on the.
Yeah, we've had a couple people check in since you were talking about tight ends, asking about your highest rating. You had Mason Taylor ahead of a guy like Tyler Warren.
Yep. I think Mason Taylor is more of a better fit for most teams, and I will say that there are a number of high-ranking folks in the NFL that actually share the same opinion as I do. And also, Tyler Warren's 25 years old. I think that in of itself may make some teams shy away from that.
That'd be off my board. See, I am not taking someone on at 25 years old.
Right.
It's not.
And yeah, exactly. So, and I view Mason Taylor as I gave him the comp of Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz he's played at a high level for a long time.
Yeah.
And I believe that to me is a player that would be a fit in every offense.
Yeah. All right. I love that. Okay, so you're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group Station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. So yesterday, Howie Roseman was on the Todd McShay podcast. Todd's still doing a lot of stuff covering the NFL. He's just not with ESPN anymore. And they got into a conversation about draft boards and how they evaluate players and talent. And obviously, there's a lot of background checks that are done as well. I mean, look, the Jalen Carter discussion was a big one. I mean, he was arguably the first overall pick. If everything that happened didn't happen,
he would have been off the board in the first 3 picks.
Right. If not number
he
one,
never would have gone further
he's top
than
3. And the Eagles were able to land him at 9 when they made the trade up with Chicago in order to get him. So Howie Roseman went on the record and spoke about people that have history of domestic abuse, domestic violence. And here's Howie Roseman talking about.
So for us, we have some objective things that I can't even overrule, and there are, but for one, like violence against women, it's just not for us, right. That doesn't mean, so it's like, I won't even watch them. I don't even want to talk about it. It just is deal breakers for us. So I can't go, but he's really good and he did it 10 years ago and he learned from it. It just doesn't work for us.
So I appreciate the honesty from Howie Roseman.
I appreciate the honesty.
I love the Eagles' stance on that, and I think that every team should adopt that same philosophy.
I completely agree with you. That's how I feel. Now, look, I know that there have been players in this city that we celebrated. Brett Myers is the first guy that comes to my mind with the incident that took place with his wife, and it was in Boston, right?
Despicable,
when it happened.
on the street corner in front of many witnesses, and Philadelphia celebrated him with standing ovations and big cheers at a parade. But Odubel Herrera Bad, who actually is married to the woman still today, that he had an incident with in a hotel room, but he's bad.
Now, hold on.
Because we don't like Odubel.
Hold on.
What?
Could this also be a change in society? Because that took and not that
was 2007?
Not that it should have been okay in 2007, but let's face it, ever since Ray Rice, I believe it's been brought to the table in a much better way now, where it is, hey, you do that, you're a bad dude.
I got to tell you.
And I think Odubel Herrera doing it in post-2020 compared to Brett Myers, not that Brett Myers should be absolved of anything, and I need to make that clear before anybody takes my words the wrong way. I do wonder how much society has changed for the better when it comes to this.
I'm drawing a blank on right now on a name. The offensive coordinator used to be with Washington, used to be with Andy Reid. The assistant, Eric Bieniemy.
Oh yeah.
Eric Bieniemy has a very, very checkered past.
That might be why he's not a head coach.
And a lot of teams, I know for a fact that there are teams that would not entertain it because then all of his history had to come up from when he was a much younger man. I fall a little differently than you guys. I hate that it's just a blanket, this is our blanket policy. Not about talent.
Right.
But to me, I'm a little bit of a sucker. I make that known all the time.
Yes, you do.
I I believe in redemption stories. I believe in grace. I believe in second chances for people. And it bothers me that it's just, nope, you're dead to us. That bothers me.
Well,
Because I am a believer in redemption stories.
So am I, but that's where I draw the line.
Yeah.
That's a line that can't be crossed.
Okay.
And
I respect you having that right to have
like
that
I think
opinion.
of the despicable thing that Greg Hardy did, and the fact that the Cowboys kept him around, hoping that it would get better, and then he's now out of the league. Like, that's disgusting.
And let's take the line out of it for a second, because bad is bad. There's very bad. There's kind of bad. Whatever. But when you look at the Eagles' strategy of doing this. One, they have had 0 suspensions since 2022.
Yeah.
So clearly their character evaluation has been high level for the franchise. 2, they're bringing in talented players that are good enough to win. They are the defending Super Bowl champions. So whether you want the redemption story or not, it clearly isn't impacting the Eagles negatively to use a blanket statement to weed out these guys.
And when I teased it going into the break, to your point, John, this isn't just like a talent thing. This isn't like, oh, he's a really good football player, but he's got this checker pass. Let's try to figure this out. It's also culture.
It is.
What is something that the Eagles are celebrated for? At least the players themselves celebrate it.
A great culture.
It's the culture.
Phenomenal, yeah.
And I think back. You brought up Odubel Herrera, right? I think back to when that happened, and the Phillies players that had to speak on his behalf. I don't think they rocked with Odubel.
Well,
no.
And so
it's divisive. Something like that will divide a team. There's really no place for it ever.
I got a text from someone willing to share some information here in our conversation.
Okay.
About that, saying that politely disagrees with me.
Okay.
On my stance of the redemption, agrees with Andrew that it should be a black mark. You're done. But wants to bring up, remember why C.J. Gardner-Johnson is out of this town. The antics with Taylor Swift were not well received within the Eagles organization, which has the most female executives in the NFL.
Right.
And his sweatshirt on.
Yep, on the parade.
At the parade, that I was told that he was told to get that off.
Yeah, it crossed the line. It crossed.
You're crossing the line, and that may have been where I was told exhausting. They just were exhausted.
Yeah, it's distasteful. Of course,
it is totally.
You gotta be professional, and you have to treat everybody with respect. And that crosses a line. That's not what the Eagles are about. The Eagles are about culture and doing things the right way, and having a lot of folks that kids can look up to. And when you see something like that, yeah, you might get some giggles on social media, but that's not what the Eagles stand for.
Yeah, and look, and the locker room culture, especially in a sport like football, it's such a big deal. I mean, we saw when the locker room, and this has nothing to do with off the field issues. We saw just 2 years ago when the locker room wasn't clicking how that impacted the football team. They had one of the most historic collapses in the history of the NFL, and that was just not clicking.
And it was just
that had nothing to do with domestic violence. That had nothing to do with arrests. That had nothing to do with suspensions. It's just a locker room that wasn't clicking.
Now I expect this, Mike, going, John, yes, you are a sucker. You're an idiot. Okay. I just can't write people off, and it's a problem in my life. I've had a problem in my life with that.
Here's the thing.
Constantly believe that there's a redemption story around the corner.
Like, if you believe in second chances for people in different circumstances, that's your right to do that. And we've seen good second chance stories. Like, they do exist of people coming back from doing bad things.
Michael Vick's is one of the greatest we've seen that touches this community.
Now, what I'll say is there's really no reason to advocate for it in the Eagles' circumstance, because having this blanket idea has not hurt them, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
They are successful having it. They have had a great locker room, great off-the-field record with it, so it is working for them. They're not missing anything on the competitive level, so they have the ability to take a stronger stance on this than maybe a team like, say, the New York Jets or the Cleveland Browns, bad teams that need to find players desperately. The Eagles can have this because they are successful doing it the way they do it, and you could get your second chance elsewhere with another organization.
And look, again, there's so many levels to this discussion, which is why I'm glad you sent it. I didn't see it till you sent it to me yesterday. Like, I think to Deshaun Watson, despicable human being, right? It's not just, hey, he's been playing poorly. It also brings a circus. That entire training camp when they first acquired him was all about Deshaun Watson. Every question that every player had to answer was about Deshaun Watson.
Yep.
And do you want to bring that? Now, I'm not saying that if you selected somebody in the draft with a checkered past, that would be the only talking point throughout all of training camp. But you even say it, John. You don't like it when A.J. Brown went radio silent. Other players had to speak on his behalf.
And that is the thing from being a broadcaster with professional sports teams in my career. The number one thing that pissed them off is having to talk for you. Andrew Salciunas is in the showers. He's not going to meet with the media today, so then everyone else get asked questions about Andrew Salciunas.
Yeah, that's not fair.
That
That's
pisses
not right.
them off in a big way.
If you have a storyline like that, and it doesn't have to be domestic violence. Tim Tebow, when he came to Philadelphia, that was a zoo.
Yeah, it was.
I've never, on Radio Row at the Super Bowl, I never have seen a person have a bigger entourage with them than Tim Tebow.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Bizarre.
Of all the athletes,
But
of all
think
the
about when
celebrities.
he was here as a backup quarterback, the media coverage that it got.
It was crazy.
It was too much.
And he couldn't play worth a lick.
He's got
At the
12
pro level.
disciples. That adds to the entourage.
That's a good point. So, look, it's an interesting conversation, and there are teams that have other beliefs. I mean, look, I'm all jokes aside, like Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs.
They run a penal colony.
They
the Dallas Cowboys.
almost like no shame. Dallas Cowboys,
but
no
Andy,
shame.
Though, I think I understand where he's coming from. I don't know that I would do it as often as he does, but I would look at each case individually and separately.
But most I agree with you on most cases, but domestic violence, that's where the line is drawn.
Yeah, that's something for me where it's a no-go. And to me, for that one, it's simple. But then you start opening up the question, all right, what do you think about speeding? And what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? Obviously, it's not...
It's not a one-size-fits-all.
Right. It's Howie Roseman made it clear when it comes to physical abuse against women, you're off. You're off the table. All right, Andrew, thanks for coming in, man.
Good to see you, buddy.
We appreciate it as always. We'll continue, obviously, talking about the Eagles and the Phillies as well as we continue doing the show. I know we mentioned it during today's headlines. Braves lose again. We got to bring this up because as the Phillies continue to win, the Braves continue to lose. Are we going to find out that this race will end pretty quickly?
Well, there's a team in New York who has something to say about that.
It's Kincade and Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Tyrone Johnson, Ricky Vitalico, and Silvana Keller.
details, go to Bagster.com.
All right, I was just reminded of something with my man Andrew DeCecco. He just walked out. We'll get into this Brave stuff in a second. I forgot that I tweeted this out the other day. Johnny, I need you to go on my Twitter account and scroll down a little bit.
Me to look at this?
Yes. Did you see my tweet about the...
Let me follow you first.
Thank you. The caramel apple lollipops? Did you see this, Connor?
You mean the
Did
kind that the grandmother used to give people? The little caramel apple, they're in like a greenish... Are they...
Those.
Yeah, the grandma lollipops.
All right. So I was just...
By the way, they're delicious.
All right. I was just telling you that there is a new green apple White Claw, which, God forbid, I have any conversation about White Claws around John
Well,
Kincade.
I bet my daughter would probably like it because a lot of girls do.
White Claws are awesome.
Yes, they are.
Great.
And Andrew DeCecco just told me that green apple is like his favorite flavor of anything. And there's a new green apple White Claw.
It's a solid flavor.
And so I tweeted out the lollipop because I was with 4 people at the time. And I asked them, I was like, oh, my God, this tastes just like the old lollipop. They had no idea what I was talking about.
Okay, grandmas gave them out everywhere.
I've never even heard of this thing.
You've never heard of this?
Nah.
Dude, I'm getting now.
It's grandma's had them.
There's
They're
now
big.
people responding from outside of Philly to the tweet going, yeah, I used to love those things. And it's like, I was with 4 people. But I'm glad that you know what it is, but you had no idea?
No. But I'm not a sweets guy.
And it just came out of nowhere. You thought about this?
Yeah, because I tried the green apple White Claw, and I thought about this lollipop, and everybody I was with had no idea what I was talking about. I showed them the photo and everything.
Olivia said you want to come over anytime. The girls will all be drinking them. You can go on and hang out with them.
Sounds good.
They would love the Tunas to come visit.
Low carbs.
White Claws are great for you.
Low carbs, baby. Yeah, they're great for you. Yeah, exactly.
Would you stop it?
Is there any vitamin C?
There's something in there. A little protein.
They're great for you.
All right, so I know you mentioned it during headlines today, but the Atlanta Braves lost again yesterday. They were winning 5-0
in the second inning
and lost to the Dodgers 6-5. So the Dodgers are 8-0, and
they're tough.
I saw somebody put out a tweet before the season started, and it was a photo of a mansion. And somebody said, "Where did you get your money?" And they said, "I just bet Dodgers money line every day."
You're not making any money, though. People say that, but you don't make any money betting their money lines.
Depends how much you're betting.
The people that bet,
yeah, but you're not. You have to bet a fortune to make it.
The people that do it for a living, that probably have the bankroll to invest into Dodgers money lines. Might not be a bad idea.
Yeah, I'm going to. I can save it for tomorrow, but I got the JK11 guarantee.
No, we're saved for tomorrow because we're going to do a whole Phillies-Dodgers discussion.
Phillies-Dodgers tomorrow because it really is. It's a shame that this series is coming up on April 4th.
Yeah, you would like it later on in the year. I totally get it.
No, how about a little warmer when everybody's at the park? And
yeah.
I'm sure it's going to be a packed house.
It will be,
weekend,
but it's going to be gross. But the Braves losing again. They're 0-7. And in Major League Baseball history, no team has started a season 0-7 and made the playoffs. Now, I believe they turn it around. And I think they are still...
Turn it around meaning
I think they're
what?
a playoff team still. I really do. I think they're a playoff team.
Okay. I think anybody who's writing off a team at this point on April the 3rd is nuts if they're a talented club.
Right. And if
they're a bad club and, like the Nationals are 1-5. And in April.
Yeah, I'm writing them off.
And it could really be bad for them in the next week.
But the Braves are going to be a good baseball team, and they're going to get people back eventually. Ronaldo Lopez, though, that's another big injury that they sustained 2 days ago. But they're 0-7. If the Phillies continue to pile up wins, your May 12th date, I think, will come to fruition. Now, the Mets are also a little shaky.
They're 500.
They're not that good of a... They have a good lineup. They have a great player in Juan Soto. Their pitching staff's not that good.
Did you hear Keith Hernandez, who, by the way, agrees with me because he said it on an open mic about the Mets batting order and the Mets offense? He was on open mic and got caught trashing the Mets.
Oh, really?
Mets lineup, yes. About how bad they're playing. I don't think...
they're bad.
I said we debated a little bit later. I don't think the Mets lineup is close to the Phillies.
I'm not saying it's close to Phillies. I think it's a deeper line. When we had the conversation, you made it seem like it was top four than everybody else.
No, I'm going to ask you, what's the lineup? A lineup is run production. How many runs are you going to produce? And I think the Mets lineup is clearly behind The Phillies and the
Yes,
Braves.
it's behind.
Like, it's
Yes.
not even. So, like, I don't consider them in the same zip code. I really don't, as Mets and Braves.
I just look at that pitching staff going, yeah, that's not that good.
The Phillies they got to take advantage. That's why I said before Mother's Day.
Yeah.
They got to take advantage of this very advantageous schedule they have.
And I believe they continue to do so.
They should.
Obviously, it's going to be a little bit more difficult.
Big
with
weekend
the
tomorrow to
Dodgers.
talk about
Yeah,
that.
absolutely, which we're really looking forward to.
Love it.
But look, it's been a great. I'm curious. Let me see.
What now?
I'm
What are you looking at?
I'm going to look at FanDuel, but obviously we all have our respective
Sure.
apps. I wonder if they've updated the divisions yet already with the latest injury. Because
I imagine.
Ronaldo Lopez is a big loss for them.
Yeah.
The Phillies are now the favorites in the NL East. Because remember, it was the Braves at like plus 220. I think the Phillies were plus 280.
And the Mets were right there, too.
The Phillies are already plus 115 to win the NL
Okay,
East.
that's wild.
The Mets have the second best odds, which I think is wrong to do. The Braves are plus 280, third highest odds in the division.
The only thing, again, is that that loss column, too. And there is a formula, and I thank one of our listeners sent me a note yesterday, because I was saying to Connor, is about when could you feel comfortable with a gap between the Phillies and the Braves? Is that for teams that fall behind by 10 wins in the loss column, and thank you, Matthew, for sharing this information with me. Teams that fall behind 10 games in the loss column in their division at any time have less than a 5% chance to win their division in the modern era. So if you ever fall 10 games behind somebody in your division, you've got less than, so it's the total oddity that you ever come back and win the division. But as we said, the Braves could be playing great in August and September and be a wild card, and they could be dangerous as hell.
Right, yeah, I don't think there's been a team or many teams in that study, in those numbers, that started off like 0-10, though. Or like started off as slow as the Braves have started with such a talented roster.
Right, like you said, there's the Nationals being 1-5, I can write them off. Like they're not going to win.
The Marlins stink. The Nationals are not good
But the Braves
enough.
are a different story.
Yeah, they've only played 4% of their season.
Speaking of the Braves, I did not realize they
What's
have a
that?
former Philly that comes out of the pen for them. That Enyel De Los Santos.
Well, they had two.
Who was
and they got rid of him after 3 games. They got rid of Hector Neris.
Yeah.
After 3 games, Alex Anthopoulos is like, we're not bringing you to L.A. with us.
Yeah, that didn't take long.
Go. They didn't let him go to L.A.
I was never the biggest Neris fan. I liked him in the 8th inning for the Phillies.
I wanted the Phillies to take a flyer on him.
He had the incredible resurgence with the Astros. But De Los Santos, another former Philly in the Braves bullpen. All right, coming up next, we'll check our text line. We've been busy, so we had our man Andrew Pacheco in for the hour, and we'll get back to some of our topics. And the way we started the show today with the Philadelphia Eagles, how do you not have faith in Howie and the Eagles' process at this point? And do you feel better this time around post-Super Bowl than the last time? It didn't go well the last time. I think the Eagles actually have a plan in place. Jeffrey Lurie spoke about that earlier this week. You'll hear that again coming up next. It is Kincade and Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Bills win another series. I'm Connor Thomas, and the Phillies have won their first 2 series of the year. They took the one over the Rockies with a 5-1 victory yesterday. Zach Wheeler was awesome on the mound. 7 innings, 10 strikeouts, only 1 earned. Edmundo Sosa was great at the dish. He is 3 for 4 on the day yesterday. He was 3 for 4, I should say. 2 RBIs, batting .600 on the season. We'll see if the Phils can find a way to keep him in the lineup as he stays red hot. The Phils go for the sweep today, 1:05 p.m. Taijuan Walker takes the mound, so that'll make it a little difficult. Versus Antonio Senzatella. The Sixers face the Bucks tonight at 7 p.m. You can hear that game live here on The Fanatic. Flyers are off until Saturday, and the Tush push is pushed until May. At least the vote on it is. Adam Schefter of ESPN joined us yesterday and talked about why people are so anti-Tush push.
I believe that there are people in the league that are jealous of the Eagles' success. I believe there are people that can't duplicate the Eagles' success. I believe the commissioner and others don't like the play, and I believe the play is going to go away.
Hey, it's hard to be the champs. This update is brought to you by Groundworks, your expert for basement waterproofing and foundation repair since 1997. Book your free inspection at groundworks.com. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Philadelphia Union Soccer.
Dylan McTrolling.
Dylan just walked in and he goes, "You're welcome for the topic today." Yes,
you did
Dylan.
a great job with it.
Hell yeah, man. Thank you very much. If you're just tuning in, yesterday, right after the show came to an end, Dylan came in here storming, ready to go. Hands were flying all over the place like Dylan does. And he was upset with your information on Dallas Goedert and how it seemed, not that you're saying that, but how it seemed that maybe Dallas Goedert is a replaceable asset, easily replaceable asset.
Well, the whole idea, and I had to correct Dylan a little bit, is that never once was it brought up that, well, Greg Calcaterra is ready to be your number one.
Right.
Nope. But the fact is, you want to get out of feelings and get the facts, Greg Calcaterra and any other tight end, the Eagles actually ran the ball better in his absence.
Well, you're telling Andrew DeCecco that he's just in his feelings and not using his football acumen?
No, but I think what Connor brought up is very right, is the idea, too, that you always have to balance that with they probably run the ball more when Dallas isn't in because they don't open up the middle of the field the same.
So there's always
both tees to it.
Yeah.
What we can say is Dallas Goedert is not the key to the Philadelphia Eagles' success.
What I can say is when Dallas Goedert was out, they averaged 440 yards of offense. The offense is pretty hot. When they don't miss a step. They do not miss a step.
He's a luxury.
And that's not a feeling. It's not a feeling. It's just fact.
Yeah, he's a luxury, not a necessity, on a team that has shown you this offseason is about keeping necessities and building for the future.
And the $18 million that you're going to get next year on the cap that you wouldn't have had, that's a necessity because of what you're going to have to pay.
Right. And we're going to miss him if he's gone. And if he's not, we'll be happy.
We'll miss him because he's a hero. I mean, he's a champion here.
So this then led to the conversation about, because Dylan then went as far as saying Howie and the Eagles messed up the last time they won the Super Bowl. Because, again, I make the point of I wish they addressed Dallas Goedert's replacement last year. I don't like going into the repeat season or the defending season with a rookie tight end. You're going to have a bunch of rookies on defense. I would like my offense to just be as smooth as possible, which you're still going to be fine with your offensive line and Saquon and AJ and Devontae and, of course, Jalen Hurts. But when Dylan said that, I was shocked that somebody had that mindset. Because there has been nothing over the last couple of years where I've gone, man, that was a big miss. Now, I've questioned things, and obviously, like Bryce Huff was a miss, but they have other players on the roster that have been able to fix that. It's not like there has been a move that has killed them. Like Jalen Reagor killed them for a couple of years, right? Like you had no wide receiver for Carson Wentz or Jalen Hurts because you drafted the wrong guy. Selecting Devin White in free agency and then eventually releasing him didn't kill them because you had a linebacker and Nakobe Dean waiting in the wing. So they haven't done anything in the last couple of years where you're going, man, that was a really big miss, big problem that occurred for the Eagles. So I was shocked that anybody had that mindset.
There's a lot of belief that we did not know what the youngsters were going to bring last year. There's a lot of doubt. Whenever guys leave a roster or come onto a roster, you don't know what you're going to get.
Right.
It's going to take time, though. It's going to take time, and this roster is still arguably, if not the best roster in football, right now, even with the losses.
Oh, yeah.
Vegas tells you they are. So, to me, how big are the losses? Like, if Dallas Goedert leaves, do you believe the next day we will see, well, the Vegas odds went down. Yeah, they can't win the NFC.
No, it's not
they can't win the Super Bowl.
Right.
No, because it's not. He's not that kind of player.
No, you love the guy, and you should.
Love him.
And he's a good player.
And appreciate him.
He's just not a necessity for the team right now.
Correct.
I'll be borderline devastated.
And that's a borderline too far.
All right, give us one text message,
Borderline
and then you have something baseball related that we kind of touched on earlier in the show, but give us a text message first.
All right, we have text messages checking in on the Dallas Goedert situation. Tim from South Jersey says, if Dallas Goedert and his agent were smart, they would follow the blueprint of Josh Sweat. He thought Sweat would be gone, but he restructured his money, bet on himself, performed, stayed healthy, and cashed in the offseason.
Here's the problem. Josh Sweat was 27 when he did that.
This is the last contract for Goedert.
Dallas Goedert is 30.
Around. This would be the contract that Josh Sweat was worried about getting, is the contract that takes him into his early 30s.
Right. So that's where it doesn't work. I get what he's trying to say, but the 3-year difference is a big problem. And I know, by the way, I think Josh Sweat is replaceable. But the way today's football is being played, tight ends you can find in the draft. I just wish they did it last year. But I mentioned Trey McBride. We've seen Sam Laporta. There's a lot of tight ends that are coming out of college that are. It's not like 20 years ago where tight ends were blocking just to block, unless you were Tony Gonzalez or like Antonio Gates, right? For the most part, it was more physical tight ends. Now you got like the special hands catching tight ends. All right, give us one more text.
All right, we also have a check-in here. Dallas Goedert has proven to be a quality starting tight end in the NFL, but his time in Philadelphia has passed. It's time to move on, find something cost-cutting and different because the draft is coming up. That's from Joe in West Philly.
Good job, Joe.
Yeah, look, I mean, that's...
And no one is going to be happy to see him go.
No. But
no one's going to be happy.
It's understanding the plan. That's a big thing, and we get it. They've been pretty clear. I mean, Howie and Jeffrey and Nick, everybody said it just the other day. Like, we have to pay these young players.
You got to, and more importantly, that's your future. That's what you need to worry about, and you need to worry about the future this year in getting that cap under control.
Yeah,
it's going to be great.
All right, what's this baseball thing you have? We were talking about Brandon Marsh and the 27-year-old.
Yeah, there are a good number of great baseball players that didn't really come into their own until after the age of 27 or at the age of 27.
Now, did they have comparable careers at the age of 27 where Brandon Marsh is? To his point right now, these guys were comparable to what Brandon Marsh has done?
I mean, these are guys that became really, really good players that were quiet at the start of their career.
Okay, who are
you know them from their accomplishments after the age of 27.
Okay.
And their accomplishments after the age of 27 are monstrous.
Okay, give me some.
Jorge Posada was a 4-time All-Star. He was a multi-time World Series champion with the Yankees. None of those All-Stars came until he was 28 or older.
Okay.
He was a guy that was quiet to start. David Ortiz was a guy that was cut from the Minnesota Twins. He was released. He goes to Boston, and in his first year, his age 27 season, it was a year where he was in MVP contention, and then, of course, the Red Sox go on their 0-4 run and everything. Jose Bautista was a guy who was never really a home run threat.
He wasn't.
He had 59 in his first 6 seasons, and then he became a monster after that, and that was age 29 season for Jose Bautista. I mean, the list goes on. You look at a guy
now here's
wait a minute,
the thing.
though. Yeah, there's discrepancies I'm seeing already
there's
right
context to all this. So, first player that I thought may have come up was like a guy like Ryan Howard. He was blocked because you had Jim Thome. So Jorge Posada you bring up. Great catcher. Hall of Famer, right? He was blocked by Joe Girardi.
Yeah.
And Girardi was a 3-time World Series champion. I don't know how many he won as the starting catcher of the New York Yankees. But he won 3 times. So, like, there's a reason why Posada, like, Brandon Marsh has been, I know he platooned last year. He was a starter last year. He was a starter back in 2022. This is year 3 now of him being considered a, maybe not everyday player, but a majority starter for the Philadelphia Phillies. Some of these names that you're giving us were guys that were blocked.
Brandon Marsh has played in, at the same point, has played in almost 50% more games than Jose Bautista did at the time. He has played in 400 and some more games than Jorge Posada did at the same age.
Right.
You can't make these comparisons because these guys hadn't gotten their shot. What my whole point is, we've seen a lot of Brandon Marsh. Like, he's coming up on 500 games in his major league career. He's had a lot of time to show you what he is. He's not been a guy. He started. He's been a starter in games. He appeared in 135 last year, 133 the year before, 134 in 2022. He's gotten a lot of shots.
Yeah, listen.
That's it. He's not comparable to the players that are being mentioned.
Well, there's like 40 players on this list.
Yeah, but the ones you went to, the biggest names you went to, it's not
because
comparable.
I can't just list all the guys that were good after 27 that weren't before 27. And it's hard for me off the top of my head to find exactly comparable players. But my point is, drawing the line at 27 as saying we know what this guy is at that age is unfair based on baseball history.
Okay, where would you fall right now on Brandon Marsh? Do you want the if they said to you today, Connor, we got to make some deals because of the money on the books and everything, we have to think, are we penciling in Brandon Marsh for another 3 years after this? Do you believe in him?
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, then I'm in total agreement with you.
I don't believe in Yohan Rojas for the next 3 years either.
And that's fine, but I want to see I want to see Yohan Rojas get 500 games.
Okay.
I want to see him get a chance, and I might not need 500 games because I don't need to see the 500th of Brandon Marsh to know what they've got.
Okay.
They've got a situational player that's nice.
Well,
I just
5 games ago, we were applauding the fact that they're giving him a chance every day in center
and
field.
5 games in, they already said.
I said to you right now.
They already
Whoa.
They
I
didn't
said to you
already
right now.
stop.
I don't trust. I said it before. I didn't trust Rob Thompson when he said it, and I've been proven right in a week.
Whoa, hang
I
on.
didn't trust that he was actually going to follow through because of what he did to Trey Turner.
One game doesn't prove it. Is Bryson Stott
see.
a rotational second baseman because
We're
Edmundo
gonna-
Sosa played
We're
there?
going to see
but
how
wait.
it all works out.
Hold on a second. It wasn't just the fact that he didn't start yesterday. It was also he got pinch hit
He got
for
pinch
the
hit
other
By
day.
who?
Yeah, Trey Turner.
Yeah, who was only in that position because he had back spasms. These are not these gotcha, he's a rotational center fielder. He had a day off.
Well, it was a left-handed pitcher, and they said we should pinch hit. We had
And they-
Trey on the bench. That's
and they
great.
hit him against the lefty before already this
Yeah.
year. It's one game, guys.
They're
You can't
already,
make a point on one game.
already itchy trigger finger.
already.
Captain Hook, he's ready.
All right, coming up next, we have the Kincade Salciunas Key 3 best minutes from today's show. We'll sneak in a couple more text messages as well. It is Kincade Salciunas on a Thursday, game day. It's a business person special today at the ballpark here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
The Philadelphia 76ers.
97.5 The Fanatic. Mike Missanelli show coming your way at 10 o'clock with, of course, Bill Colarulo and the young Ray Dunn. Talking a lot about the Eagles today. It was great having Andrew DeCecco in with the draft. So it's interesting. He says he would go tight end, and based off of his insight and perspective that you need to hear, he believes tight end could be the pick at 32. But then when I asked him the question about the percentage breakdown, he still said interior defensive line as the top option.
It has to be the top option. I think it has to be the top option.
Well, unless you target somebody in the second round.
I think if you go, the thing is, if you're going premium, the one thing you know is you'd get a guy at a fairly good price that you could control for 5 years.
Right.
At tight end. You could solve that problem. That would cover the A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith contracts. You honestly would have nothing. There'd be like nothing you're worrying about except third receivers and everything like that. So you've solved something long term.
Now, here's what's interesting. We'll have Andrew in next Thursday and the Thursday of the draft itself. When you start thinking about this draft, I know we have talked about this in the past. They do have to start thinking about the post-Lane Johnson era, too. So you're drafting for depth, clearly, but you're also drafting for need. Tight end is a need for this team. Defensive line is always a need for this team. At what point do you start thinking about the offensive tackle position as well? And knowing the Eagles, they're not taking a flyer on somebody in the third or fourth round. They want to draft high, and if they have to let him sit for a year or two, they will.
I told you the other day, the Eagles were amongst the top handful of teams that offensive tackle was their most 30 visits.
Right.
That tells me something. That I don't think that's a smokescreen.
So could tackle still be on the board at 32?
I think it better be. It better be.
Well, I think it better not be.
I think it better be because it's what has been your bread and butter. As far as when I'm saying it's on your thing, you're saying, okay, if the best player available is a superior offensive tackle that you can get in there,
right.
I would absolutely be.
Now the question is, how many more years? And this is where you start.
I think two.
Two, because you start getting
his contract tells you that it's 2.
All right, so you think it's 2 years?
I believe.
I had no problem with Jason Kelce continuing to come back. I never had that problem. But it then gets to the difficult nature of the organization going, all right, so if we draft a tackle to replace Lane Johnson now, he's not playing till year 3. Could we have used something that could have impacted in year 1 or even in year 2 of this year's draft? And that's when you start thinking about, all right, what is best? So, Connor, you're against it.
I am against it.
And is it for that reason?
Well, no, not so much the player that you would be drafting. It's that you probably need to add to the safety room. You probably need to add to the defensive backs room in general as depth. You definitely need to add to the defensive line interiorly. You could probably add edge depth. You could probably add linebacker depth. You may have to go get a tight end that's capable of starting because of the Dallas Goedert situation. And I don't think Lane Johnson's done after this year. So if that's not an immediate problem, I don't know that they have the luxury with the premium picks that they do have to use it on something that's depth for 3 years down the line.
Okay.
I just don't think it's a year.
And now it's worked out for the Eagles where they did that with center.
And they drafted offensive linemen in the first 3 rounds.
Sayamalu
pretty
was
much
one
like
of them.
9 out of 10 drafts.
Cam Jurgens, obviously.
That's produced the offensive line that is the envy of every team in the NFL.
Now the question
I do not want them wandering from that strategy.
The question is, do you draft a future right tackle and play him at guard? I don't know. Center to guard makes more sense to me than tackle to guard. Forget about what Mekhi Becton did this year, right? That's an anomaly where you have the tackle to guard and it works out so well. I do wonder if you drafted right tackle earlier this year, how long it would be until we see him on the field. Other than like coming in for Lane Johnson if he hobbles off. And I wonder if it's worth it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to say stick to the strategy you've been doing.
That's absolutely worked.
Top 2 days of the draft, you've been doing it for around a decade.
They're just kind of in that weird spot right now because they have so many holes to fill, and they have to think about replacing one of the most important positions on the field at right tackle.
Okay.
It's interesting.
It is. It's a quandary, but a good quandary.
All right,
but it's a good quandary.
Give us a text message there, Connor, before we get to the key three.
All right. We have a check-in on the Rojas Marsh conversation. We had a bunch of people checking in on this earlier. So a texter says, Rojas is better than Marsh, and how can you say Rojas' ceiling is lower? It's a ridiculous argument. Marsh would be a great minor league guy.
No.
Well, that's a little crazy.
Rojas is, five-tool player, right?
Yes.
Power, contact, fielding, speed. Throwing. So Johan Rojas is not a five-tool player because he's never going to have pop.
He's not a five-tool. I don't think his arm's that great.
Nah, but I'm talking about
his arm's more than adequate.
I'm talking about okay, yeah. So
but he's not difference maker.
So Brandon Marsh, even though I think I know what the book is on Brandon Marsh, because he does have pop in his bat, has more of a chance. I'm never going to call Brandon Marsh a five-tool player. Has more of a chance of becoming a five-tool player than Johan Rojas does, and that's why his ceiling is higher than Rojas.
I don't believe you become a five-tool player at 27, 28.
No, I don't. Yeah, no, I don't.
So I'm at to me, Rojas, give him a comparable chance to what Brandon Marsh has been given. 135 games on average over the last 3 seasons.
Well, then that means you got
to give him a shot. I'm telling you about. I said 50 games for Johan Rojas. Let him get in there. By the way, his plate at the plate's looking good.
Well, that means you would end the Brandon Marsh thing today.
I'd be fine.
Because Kepler's your left fielder. Nick Castellanos is your right fielder. So that means Marsh is done today, and Rojas is starting your next 50
I don't trust that. What Rob Thompson says. Not calling him a liar. I don't trust what Rob Thompson says because I think Rob Thompson gets overruled by people in the organization.
Okay, but would you?
Oh, I would absolutely.
Today,
I've seen enough. I know the ending of the Brandon Marsh movie. I won't ruin it for you. He's not going to. Yes, I don't believe Brandon Marsh is going to be like some big impact player that is going to be carrying this organization to championships.
But there's no possible way you could say Rojas is.
I didn't say he is.
No,
I haven't had the chance.
Try it.
I'd rather see what he brings because what he brings is superior defense. It's not close. Superior base running. It's not close. And if I can see in a sustained period of time that Rojas has learned something at the plate, I'm all in.
So at least absolutely all in. 240, uses speed.
This lineup should be able to afford a 240 hitter who steals bases, has superior speed, goes out there on defense, and gives a lot more than what you can get out of Brandon Marsh.
All right.
I got you.
It is time now for the Kincade Salciunas Key 3 best minutes from today's show.
Now, the Kincade Salciunas Key 3. Today's best.
Johnny, good morning.
And I hope you're ready for a big day today.
Yeah,
Looks like we got a good show ready to go.
Marathon day.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
The fascinating comment made by Dylan McKinnon was, Howie messed up the draft the last time the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
Howie messed up. Now, the thing is, he didn't. Now, the thing is, it wasn't the draft.
Everything.
He said, Howie messed up everything last time they went to the Super Bowl. He didn't say the draft.
Okay.
So, because I know Dylan knows his stuff. He didn't say the draft. He goes, Howie messed up everything. Why are you going to believe in him? He messed it up last time they went to the Super Bowl. And to me, I thought that comment just says to me, okay, we need to pump the brakes and let's look at the facts. No, he didn't. He did not.
How do you not have faith in Howie and the Eagles' process at this point? Doesn't just have to be draft.
God, I hate
draft
that word.
Process. I know. Draft process, the free agent period, trades, waiting for the second, third, fourth wave of free agents, waiting till training camp where guys get cut and the Eagles pick up depth guys. At this point, the process of the Philadelphia Eagles, how do you not have faith in it, considering what you just said? Following that dark time, and it was a dark time.
Oh, it was really dark.
And it wasn't just Wentz, right? Howie was the smartest man in the room. He would be the first to tell you, too. And that's a problem. When you're the smartest man in the room and your opinion is the only one that matters and you're overthinking things like Jalen Reagor, Davion Taylor, which is somebody that we don't talk about enough in this city. Like, that was a horrible draft pick. A guy that barely played football, but they thought, we could make something work with his measurables, with his athleticism. The guy could barely play. He's not in the NFL anymore. There was a time where Howie Roseman was heading in a horrible direction. Jeffrey Lurie himself, he's somebody that deserved blame for the J.J. Arcega-Whiteside draft pick because he liked him coming out of Stanford. But to your point, Johnny, in recent years, Howie Roseman has done everything for you to not have doubt.
I can't get over it.
And we're not asking blind faith, because I don't do that. But when you heard Dylan say, Howie messed it up the last time they won the Super Bowl, I was shocked that somebody still had has that feeling. Yesterday, you gave me the numbers to back up the case that I should not be, quote, borderline devastated if Dallas Goedert is not on the Eagles next year. And I appreciate the effort that you made. Still feeling the same way, Johnny.
Here's what I don't get. I can't believe you would hear the numbers and it doesn't move you at all, because that doesn't make sense.
Well, I'm not always a numbers guy. Sometimes
I know,
I'm
but
an eye test guy, like a true football guy would be.
But because the numbers are all there to show you that it does not make this huge impact when he's out.
Well,
and it's not a small sample size.
No, I know. 15 games, 15
It's a
games.
season.
Joining us today and every Thursday up until the draft for an hour is our man from Inside the Birds and our Birds Insider here on 97.5 The Fanatic, Andrew DeCecco. Andrew, what's up, brother? Good morning.
I think it is jealousy because the Eagles run the play more effectively than any other team out there, and the play is available to every team out there. They don't run it as effectively, and I think that lost in all this is the hypocrisy from someone like a one Sean McDermott, whose team, the Buffalo Bills, they run that play the second most times of any team. They're just not effective at it. And I think when you're the Eagles and you're already a successful team, you already have a head coach who, let's face it, he rubs a lot of teams and a lot of figures around the NFL the wrong way. So when you're so good at things and you have a play that's unstoppable, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to try and do everything that they can to take that away from you and stop it. It's unfair, it's cowardly, and it's something that I really do believe that the league's really going to try and push through.
I almost look at Howie Roseman as if there's a wall between, like, 2019, the minute that he got rid of Carson Wentz. He has been on a roll that arguably no general manager in the history of the NFL has been on. He has been on a roll that gives me complete confidence in Howie Roseman. And there was a time, I never called for his firing, but there was a time when I didn't have that. But I believe there's like a wall that comes after that. The minute that he got out from under that Carson Wentz contract, he has been freaking Houdini since.
All right, that is the Kincade Salciunas Key 3 best minutes from today's show. By the way, big day for a lot of gamers out.
Why today? Is it a big day?
Verdansk is back, man.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hell yeah, man.
They're bringing back firing range for multiplayer, too?
You know nothing about Verdansk. It's
No,
the
I do
original.
not. I know.
It's the OG Warzone map where you used to drop in on. Back
Okay, I
when
do not know
Warzone like first started.
I remember when Warzone, when guys at our station were playing it.
Yeah, they got rid of it, and they just brought. Today was the day that it came back.
So is it like they're bringing back the original game?
It's the same game, just the same different map.
Same game, different map.
Yeah, the map's back. Yeah.
Maybe in the gulag.
Big day for the gamers, man. I will be participating.
Is this what they're all complaining about, the price of it?
No, that's Nintendo Switch 2 was announced yesterday.
How much is that?
I don't know how much the console will be.
I think Olivia had one.
But the
is that the small one in your hand?
Hey, it's cheaper than the guy throwing for the Phillies today.
Yeah. The Mario Kart will be $80.
I don't think.
That's not.
Okay.
I mean,
no, but $80 for one game?
Yeah, it's a lot.
That
also,
sucks.
it's Mario, but we can settle that in
sucks.
another.
It is.
All right, tell us about life-saving cancer.
It is Super Mario Brothers. Hey, we're more life-saving cancer research. That'll save you. FT Young Heating and Air Conditioning made a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research, and you should too. Go to 975thefanatic.com/AACR. Thank you, doctors, nurses, researchers. Cancer research saves lives.
Oh, by the way, first day in the Powder Blues of the 2025 season for the Phillies. It's a Thursday. So we get to see the Powder Blue jerseys.
See the Powder Blues.
That's beautiful. I love it. Everybody have a great rest of your day. Mike Missanelli Show comes right next with Bill Colarulo and Ray Dunn. We'll talk to you tomorrow on a Friday here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.